All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this game of Autumn Triduum, Daughters of St. Michael, being played as part of Gauntlet Con, an entirely online role-playing game convention. You can find out more about Gauntlet Con and other activities put on by the Gauntlet gaming community by checking out gauntlet-rpg.com. Lots of cool folks are there playing lots of cool games. Please come and join us. Tonight's game, we are playing Autumn Triduum. This is a in development, powered by the apocalypse game about religious sisters fighting the forces of darkness. It was designed by me, Alexi Sargent, and I am working on it through my game design studio, Cloven Pine Games. You can find out all about Cloven Pine Games' work by following us on Twitter at Cloven Pine Games or checking out my itch.io store, also Cloven Pine Games. I'll be the game master or novice mistress for this evening's game. Let's introduce our other players as well. Folks, before we get to your characters, just introduce yourself. We'll go around real quick and say your name, pronouns if you wish, and online handle if you wish that. And at this point, let's go in character keeper order. So Alexis.
So Alexis, he, him. I don't have a social media, anything like that.
Good to have you, Alexis. Next up, Mary.
Hey, Mary, she, her. My Twitter handle is Mary A. Georgescu, which I guess it's bonus points if you can figure out how to spell that. George and then an SCU. I won't torture you. So, yeah.
Very generous of you, Mary. Over to you, Tyler.
Hi there, I'm Tyler, he, him pronouns. And I have a YouTube channel, which if you want to see me running a bunch of PBTA games, feel free to look over there for Tyler Almanac.
Excellent, good to have you. And last but not least, Stentor.
Hi, I'm Stentor Danielson. I'm part of Glittercats Fine Amusements, so you can find me on Twitter at Chef Stentor or Glittercats on various social media at Play Glittercats.
Excellent. Great to have you all here for tonight's game of Autumn Triduum. We were talking off camera about the convent that'll be the focal point of this game because you will all be playing religious sisters who are part of the same order and same convent. And we thought we might locate it in Western Massachusetts in roughly contemporary times. And of course, starting off on All Hallows Eve, the first day of the 3-day Autumn Triduum from which the game takes its name. And those 3 days for folks at home are All Hallows Eve, All Saints' Day, and All Souls' Day. Each of those days is part of our story tonight, and each one has a custom move associated with it. So please flag for me when you think your sisters are approaching those moments of making those specific day moves for the Triduum. Let's define a few more things about our convent and then meet all our PCs. So the convent itself ought to have a name, and you'll see over in the convent tab of the character keeper a couple options that we could choose from. We could also generate anything else that might work. So some of the options listed here were St. Mary's, St. Jude's, Holy Cross, Precious Blood. Anyone like one of those options or want to propose another one?
I like Precious Blood.
Same.
Sounds good to me.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so in Western Mass,
for a horror kind of game.
In Western Mass, the Convent of the Precious Blood. Do we think this is an old building? Do we think this has received some kind of modernizing amenities over the years? Any thoughts on kind of what we'd see in the sort of establishing shot, right, of the camera showing the convent and environs, besides of course that the kind of rusty fall foliage, which is definitely visible here, I'd say.
Yeah, I think an old convent, like next to it, like a really old chapel.
Yeah, absolutely. Stonework and everything.
Yeah.
Little bit of chipping away at the facade just from the wear and tear of the weather. I like it. Um, I I kind of tip my hand towards a name of the order just to label our game for Gauntlet Con by calling it Daughters of Saint Michael. Are people okay with that being the name of the order to which your sisters belong?
Sure.
Yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
And Saint Michael the Archangel, of course, strongly associated with battling the forces of Satan in the kind of great war in heaven. So perhaps you'll be called to follow in his footsteps during this 3-day Autumn Triduum.
May I make a suggestion too when we talk about our building?
Yeah, please.
Can we perhaps have had a school at one point, but as funding and less people, going to the Catholic schools, it's closed. So we've got kind of a building that's left itself, maybe detached or maybe attached, but it's kind of left itself empty at this point.
Empty school, that work for people?
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure like the questions of what exactly to do with the school are kind of tangled up, in among kind of higher ups with the order and with the diocese. Figuring out how this now kind of collapsed building could be used. Yeah. Yeah. So that suggests that at one point the sisters had kind of teaching school children as part of their charism. What do you think is your primary charism now? So many orders of sisters are active, right? Meaning that in addition to prayer and contemplation, they do some service in the world, and I found that works well to create hooks for Autumn Triduum. So some suggestions about charism, word that just means kind of your spiritual gift of service. Some suggestions about charism in this tab include sheltering orphans, caring for the dying, ministering to the sick. And we've had stories where sisters are kind of visiting the homebound of a city, stories where the convent has been, entrusted with some kind of valuable collection of art or literature that the sisters maintain. These are all options, and there can be more than one thing on the table, but I'd love to define at least one charism. What do people think?
So the orphans thing could be an easy kind of like maybe we were doing that and the school. It's because they fit together. They're both about children, and then if we've lost the school part, but maybe we still have the orphans aspect.
Yeah, so it would be there's some form of orphanage, but the children now are no longer being kind of taught in the school that you maintain. So you're
they all go to public school.
Yeah, you're providing a dormitory, right, and otherwise trying to watch out for these youngsters, but are don't no longer have the resources and wherewithal to run the school. Does that work for folks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. We'll add sheltering orphans to that part with the charism. Oh, and this tab also has NPCs. I've slotted in Mother Mary Immaculate as the Mother Superior. We could define a different one, but I often like having Mother Mary Immaculate here. A well-meaning Mother Superior who's very insistent on kind of tidiness and decorum within the convent. How does she sound to you?
Yeah.
Good to me.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, with a little sense of the Daughters of Saint Michael and the Convent of the Precious Blood, let's meet the sisters that each of you will be playing. Alexis, start us off. Tell us a little about Sister Ellen.
So, Sister Ellen, as a child, she was walking home from school. There were some bullies kind of teasing her, maybe because of the clothes she was wearing, very plain clothes that her mom probably made. got hit in the head, fell into a coma, and began receiving. And after being in this coma for a few weeks, she began to see visions, especially of in the sky, somewhere in the sky, she sees a kind of moving sphere that's kind of like not always in the shape of a sphere, kind of pulsing in and out. Light, beautiful, bright in the sky. Looks like she feels it in her heart that this is heaven that she's looking at. And she stares at it for a long time. And after a while, she sees at the kind of the periphery, this darkness kind of start to kind of almost overtake. It starts to kind of come at the edges, and everywhere where the edges of the sphere meet the darkness, there's first a spark, and the spark goes out, and the blackness kind of overtakes it. And you zoom in, and you see that this is in fact angels battling demons, and those sparks you see are actually the clashing of swords as the demons overtake the angels at that line. And it's the same vision over and over.
So she was struck on a rock by a child that was tormenting her here.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Did she tell her parents when she came out of this coma? Did she tell them how she went into it, or keep that a secret?
I think she maybe like she doesn't fully remember everything that happened prior to that. I mean, these visions were so strong that it's really when she wakes up, she starts to talk about it, and she really doesn't have many ways to really express exactly what she saw because she was so young. Yeah, so it's really like all the details leading up to it, and even kind of some of the things that happened before in her life maybe got forgotten because of the head injury.
I see. All right. How did your gift of prophecy sustain you in a time of crisis?
So when I first joined another convent, another part of Massachusetts, I saw a vision of a burning building surrounded by dark figures, and it basically I was led to believe or to realize that this was in fact our convent, and the rest of my sisters were in danger, and I was able to get everyone out in time before the whole place went up in flames.
So fire and sparks seem to follow you, Sister Ellen.
Yeah.
What were people initially receptive to your sharing this vision, or did you have to do something drastic to convince them to get out of the convent in time?
I think at first there was no. People didn't really want to believe me because they know my history as a child, and I've told this story before, and not everyone believes that it was a real thing. That that it's probably a lot of people, maybe even sisters in the convent itself, were like, that's just what happens when you hit your head. That you see things. That's just what happens. But maybe so I guess in the backstory also is that maybe I told this story to Father Joseph and explained my original visions and this new vision, and he helped me kind of figure that out, that they were in trouble.
All right. And Father Joseph, old priest, young priest?
Yes, old priest, kind of a staple in that community, so very trusted.
And so he was the one who believed you and helped amplify your voice there?
Yes. And recommended me to once basically the whole place did go up in flames, it kind of shut down the whole operation, the whole convent there. He recommended my transfer to this convent specifically.
Which one of your sisters from the old convent was also transferred here with you, and why are you disappointed it was her?
I'm gonna say it was Sister Benedicta.
Okay.
Disappoint.
Just checking, Mary. You all right with
Oh,
the idea?
sorry. I assumed it was going to be another player character.
Oh no, yeah, I was open.
No, I could totally make another one. It's fine.
Yeah, I was thinking about an NPC for that one, but
sure, no, absolutely. So I'm gonna say it was Sister Virginia, maybe. And I'm disappointed because she was one of the she definitely was a doubter. She's one of the people that basically has been kind of snickering at my comments about, and she also wasn't really fully convinced that I knew that this fire was going to be set, because somebody did call the fire department. They did show up later, that it was somebody outside of the convent had seen the smoke from the village, so she assumed that it was just kind of luck.
Yeah, all right, we got Sister Virginia. Finally, when have you seen the devil active in the world?
So there was a local hate group that was targeting one of the kids in the orphanage who was an immigrant, and it seemed like they were interested in him because there was reports that he may have been able to move things with his mind, and it seemed like it was something that happened only when he prayed, and it was as a result of his faith, and it feels to me like that is obvious use of the devil using others to for his will.
Let me double check this orphan that you feel protective of. He's here at the convent.
Yes.
Got it. And you've heard these strange rumors about him and the people who seem against him.
Yeah.
What does that look like? They're like a local hate group. Are people like targeting the convent in ways that like could be dismissed as pranks, but there's something deeper behind it? Or is it like you get the sense that there's this weird chatter in dark corners of the internet? Like,
I think maybe it's like they were kind of directed there. They were already kind of a group that maybe xenophobic, something like that. But there was reports of like that this convent here is takes in immigrant children, and that they didn't really like that. And they for whatever reason, he was the main target of these people. Like, they were pestering him and hounding him, and they were actually trying to cause him harm at some point. It looked like they may have been trying to like attack him, but he kind of was able to escape that.
All right, I'd love to get a name for this poor orphan in the end.
So
you can. Oh yeah.
I actually wanted to ask. I had also established in one of my things a connection to a particular orphan, so I was wondering if it might make sense to make them the same character.
Yeah, what do you think?
For ease of creating plenty of drama in our single session.
Yeah, please.
And if that's all right with you, Alexis, I'd already given the name Jaime to the orphan.
Perfect.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, that totally works. That's it for backstory questions for Sister Ellen. I'll just note the moves I see you picked. You picked Afflict the Comfortable for when you harshly exhort someone by relying on your prophetic insight, and Still Small Voice, which allows you to discern situations or spirits by asking for prophetic guidance. And that's one where you're kind of switching a stat for the move, and kind of in addition to the other questions you get from the move, you also will get a little vision that we at the table work together to narrate, where kind of each sister contributes a detail of the vision, and then you get to try to ask some questions to interpret it. So it sounds to me like you're interested in being confronted by people who are being complacent and need to be exhorted, and you're interested in situations where you might have to turn to prophecy to gain the insight you need to go forward. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, really good to meet Sister Ellen. I'm sure she won't have any trouble here getting people to listen to her if she has more visionary insight. Sister Benedicta. Mary, tell us a little about Sister Benedicta, please.
Yeah, so Sister Benedicta, I was thinking of her as someone who basically filled a role when the local doctor maybe got excommunicated for certain practices that should be considered everyday and like normal. Sorry, because when I was like thinking about these, I was thinking about them like past tense, so like I'm trying to modernize it as we're going. But yeah, just probably something about women's reproductive rights and like maybe abortions, like maybe they that local doctor was carrying out abortions or something that would be considered normal, I guess, but to them is considered bad. So then she kind of stepped in and was kind of an intermediary between like medical practices and like spiritual therapy, sort of something like that. And yeah.
So you think she began practicing medicine after becoming a sister, or did she have a medical background from prior to joining the convent?
I think she had like a medical like degree before entering. Yeah, before going in.
Yep. Oh, and just to flag the things from the top of the scholar playbook, your aspect is stormy and your specialty is medicine. Who helped you see how your field of research could mesh with a religious vocation?
So in my mind, it was in fact a woman that she probably helped deliver her child when no one else wanted to help her out. And I think that meeting, they both thought it was more than coincidence that they were able to find each other in their time of need.
Is that woman and her child? Are that woman and her child still part of the town that this convent lives in?
I think so for sure.
Do they visit you at the convent ever?
I think the child probably does. I don't know if the woman visits me that often. I think she'd have a relationship, like a nice relationship with the child she helped deliver, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Please put a name for that child in the NPC tab when you get the chance. Yeah, what unique scholastic resource drew you to this convent in particular?
So, my thought was that she's very interested in the beginning of life and the end of life, and is really interested in the possibility of like a corrupted soul actually affecting your physical body. So she thinks that this covenant, or she knows that this covenant has some really, really old books that need translating, and that's why she's gonna go for a deep dive and maybe like be starting or in the middle of years of research into translating some of that text that's just been kind of sitting there unnoticed.
Oh, that's great. Like kind of books written some time ago about kind of the relationship of body and soul, right?
Yeah.
You know, by a woman who was part of this order or another order you say it needs to be translated. So this was kind of they were written in Latin or in another language no longer commonly spoken.
Yeah, I would imagine probably Latin.
And maybe some, or is it that it's written in like a strange Latin shorthand that no one else has been kind of able to decipher, or is it that it was written in Latin and just no Latin scholars were like interested in this woman's writings until Sister Benedicta came along to check on them?
Oh, that's interesting. I kind of would imagine that it would be nice for her to be following the shorthand of a particular medical practitioner.
Yeah. I mean, this is for me making me think all about some real world figures, but we can have this be a slightly fictional equivalent, so it's not doesn't need to be literally right. A particular medieval character, we can come up with our own. What? When are you certain you've seen the devil active in the world?
So for Sister Benedicta, that was definitely when, in choosing to practice medicine and devote herself to faith, that her father basically closed the door to the rest of her family for her, and is kind of upset that she's not entering like a married life, but is choosing basically God and studies over having a family.
That's harsh. What was there like a last argument over this, or did it just like it was just that at some point the like locks were changed and you understood he was shutting you out of that of family life entirely?
I think so. I think it was probably like that.
Who do you miss most from your family that you think would maybe understand you better than your father if only you could reach them?
I think probably like a sister, a sibling.
Absolutely. I'd love to get a name for that character in the NPC tab too, once you think of one. Finally, glancing back up, the moves you've taken are if these walls could speak. When you turn for help to your extensive research into the convent's own history, roll plus charity, where there's a chance you can know a useful secret passage, resource, or tale. On a miss, you've misunderstood something fundamental. And you also have applied scholasticism. When you take a risk to confirm or disprove a theory, you get to mark your mystery track, clear a thorn, or clear a tribulation. All kind of beneficial mechanical bonuses for putting yourself a little on the line in pursuit of your scholarship. So it sounds to me like you want your scholar to be uncovering and using secrets of the convent and its past, as well as going above and beyond to gain knowledge, even if she goes into some danger for doing so. Does that sound right?
For sure.
All right. Good to meet Sister Benedicta. Tyler, tell us a little about Sister Margret.
All right. Sister Margret is the elder. There's a little picture of her if you'd like to look. There she is.
That's great.
She, I'm guessing, is in her probably mid to late 80s. And she has been a nun for the vast majority of her life, probably since her late teens. And she's kind of opinionated. She does not mind.
No.
She does not mind letting people know what her wisdom has taught her over the years, I suppose is the way to put it, charitably. She cares very deeply for the children that we have here, especially in them being taught a religious background. She's still very angry about the school closing. Let's see.
And whose fault was it, in Sister Margaret's view, that the school closed?
Well, that goes down into the devil active in question there.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the devil's hand. When our school was closed, I could only imagine the devil's hand in taking our children to secular education. This is probably focused on the local school board, who believed that we weren't giving them sufficient broad-based education.
I see. So who is behind this secularizing trend on the school board? I'm sure Sister Margret has learned their name.
Yeah, I think his name is Stanley Farley. He runs, of all things, a used car lot, surely cheating people. And yet he's somehow become like secretary of the school board, and treasurer of the school board, and help push through these new regulations that
brought down the convent school. Okay, got it. I was looking at the backstory question. It sounds like in addition to the loss of the school, there's another change made at the convent that that you're upset about.
Yes. I'm still rankling over the services and litanies being done in English instead of Latin. This changed in 1975, and she has been very mad about it ever since. And she will tell people that it's, it doesn't have the impact it did back then. These younger priests don't even know Latin anymore half the time, and she's very upset about all that. And she probably would blame Pope Paul VI if that wasn't a sin. So instead, she blames his advisors and the Cardinals College for putting this just blasphemous thing into his mind.
I realize I've addressed these backstory questions slightly backwards, but it sounds like you've also got someone someone for the answer who taught you the proper way to reverence God, His angels, and His saints.
Mother Superior Bernadette, she's long since passed, and was one of the earliest mothers of the convent that I first went to. And we were very close. She helped calm my mind when I first got there, helped me get through the earliest days. And I still pray for her every night, though she's probably been gone like 40 years, 50 years. And I believe that she whispers advice to me in my dreams. I believe that when I get good inspiration, that it's a blessing that comes from her watching out for me. Very
good. Interesting. And when you were young, you also felt you heard a call from the Virgin Mary that came in a dream and helped you discern that you should join the convent. Is that? Then the last thing here is the moves you've picked as the elder. You have Follies of Youth, when you comfort the afflicted by sharing a tale of misadventures from your own younger days, roll plus faith instead of plus charity. So when when the time comes, you can bust out stories from way back in the day in order to try to reach out to others. And you also have Gray Hair as a Crown of Glory, when you leverage your age and long religious career to establish authority over someone, roll plus faith. On a hit, you'll establish the authority. 7 through 9, you also have to resist temptation to give into pride. It sounds like you want some chances both to attempt to relate to people and attempt to put people in their place, since you've seen a thing or two in your day. Does that sound right?
That's right, and I operate as the librarian for the convent, both for our school books that I still meticulously keep in case the school opens again, and and our religious texts.
It sounds like Sister Benedicta's corpus of study is under your purview as well. Then.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps right. I love seeing anyone trying to better their knowledge. So I imagine I probably rather like her being here and going through the books.
Oh, nice. Well, maybe we'll get to that in Sisterly Bonds. Thank you so much. Good to meet Sister Margret. I think let's turn to Stentor and Sister Augustine.
Yeah. So I am the penitent, so I have come to the convict after a life of sin, and specifically my life before the convent, I was an enforcer for a drug cartel. I grew up in rural Western Massachusetts and got involved with people that were running meth and other things, and ended up working for them. And I got the nickname 2x4, which both described my build as well as my weapon of choice when I would go after people that owed us money, or that we thought were going to snitch on us, or various other things. I just show up at their house, beat the shit out of them, and drive away. So I did that for a while, but then I eventually, the law caught up to me. I was arrested, and I was actually mistreated pretty badly by the police. And that kind of convinced me that I needed to get out of this life. That I wasn't going to last too long being so involved in the drug trade. But it's hard to get out of that once you're in it.
Yeah,
But
I've heard tell that it can be difficult to get out.
yeah, I couldn't just be like, all right, I'm gonna go, get a job at CVS now, But when I was contemplating, I was in my jail cell contemplating what I was gonna do once I was, out. I noticed that the injuries that I had gotten while being roughed up by the police looked like stigmata. Like I looked like I had the nail holes on my hands and stuff, which I took as kind of a sign that I was being called to the church. And so at the first opportunity, I found the nearest convent and signed up.
Who at the convent helped you start to feel a sense of belonging?
So this is where the orphan Jaime that we mentioned before comes in, because I joined the convent and they assigned me to work with some of the kids in the orphanage. And at first, because I hadn't worked with kids really before, we try to keep the kids clear of any involvement in the drug cartel activities, for anybody that's involved that has kids. So I didn't really have a lot of experience, and I felt really out of my depth. And I was like, wondering if this change of career was really going to work for me. But Jaime was a kid that I sort of made a connection with, and I could see that I was making a difference in his life. And so that helped me feel like I belonged here and that this was work that I could do.
Very nice. One more question. Did you tell Mother Mary Immaculate about the life that you were coming from when you wanted to join the convent, or did you somehow obfuscate it and join without fully revealing what was in your past?
I mean, I came in with a criminal record on the books, so I had to tell her some of it.
Yeah.
I had to explain that I had, been involved with the drug dealing, that I had been in jail, but I didn't give her nearly all of the details. There was a lot of really bad stuff that I've done and witnessed and helped other people do that I just kind of left out of my story. So, the impression that I gave to Mother Mary Immaculate was that I had been, on the periphery and had gotten wrapped into something way over my head by some family members who needed some favors, and it, one thing led to another, and the arrest itself was just for possession. It wasn't for any of the violence, so I was able to kind of leave that whole part out. So as far as she knows, I had just been asked to deliver this package by a family member, and I didn't quite realize what was in it. And
got it. Yeah. So you played it like you were more the one kind of victimized in the situation.
Almost, yeah.
And she could help you to escape. Yeah,
and I was very genuinely penitent about the stuff that I've done.
Yeah. No,
but I didn't tell her the full range of the things that I am internally and when I go to confession penitent about.
You've turned over a new leaf, and I'm sure nothing of your old life is still clinging to you here, Sister Augustine. Your moves you've taken: you have lived by the sword. Once per day, when your old instincts kick in and you resort to violence, a marked tribulation to rebuke someone or something is if you rolled a 10+, but I also get to reveal unintended collateral damage. And then print of the nails. When you comfort the afflicted by revealing the physical scars of your old life, ignore tribulation and take a +1 on your roll. So it sounds like you want to be in situations where you might kind of backslide a tad to your 2x4 days, or have the opportunity to offer comfort by revealing the marks left on you by your past. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I want to be kind of caught in this situation of like I'm trying to get away from that, but also trying to like use that to help other people.
Yeah,
because I want to keep
it's
other
still
people
part of
from
you.
going down that kind of road. But so that means I can't ever totally leave it behind, and so sometimes it sort of sucks me back in.
Yeah. Let's do sisterly bonds and then take a break to kind of compile some of this and then hit the ground running. Back to Sister Ellen. Sister Ellen, you think that blank is most open to hearing about your prophetic experiences. Which player character should go there? Who's most open? And you check in with folks, but you can certainly put forward an idea or ask for volunteers. Oh, are you speaking, Alexis? You're muted.
There we go. I think it would probably be Sister Margret. No, hold on, let me see. Somebody was saying that they had, was it Sister Margret was saying that they had dreams too?
Sister Margaret's had dreams too.
Yeah, so I would say Sister Margret.
Yeah, I think so as well.
All right. And you also are concerned that blank remains skeptical of your gifts and asks probing questions about your mental state. Who do you think that might be?
I would say maybe Sister Benedicta, being that she's a scholar and she's maybe has a little more, because of her medical knowledge and that kind of thing. I think she might be doubting. She knows what can, she's pretty wise to the ways of how the brain works and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, she's interested in that body soul connection, but she may not think it's quite as simple as you'd put it with your kind of mystical pronouncements. Does that sound right, Sister Benedicta?
Yeah, for sure.
Then let's head right on over to you. You've got some sisterly bonds. One is blank earned your gratitude by supporting your theories.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be Sister Margret.
Okay, yeah, does that sound right? Sister Margret supported Sister Benedicta's theories.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of come out in you kind of consulting those texts in the library that she runs. She's kind of been eager to give you the research material you need.
I think so, yeah, for sure.
That's lovely. And then you've also have blank doesn't understand how beautiful what you've discovered is yet. Who do you think that is?
I think probably Sister Augustine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I think I'm thinking I did finish high school, but only just barely. So like I don't get the whole deal with the scholar stuff. Like it's just way over my head and not part of my experience. So
it's not so much that you like per se doubt Sister Benedicta's scholarship. It's that you don't see the point of it. You're like, what?
Yeah, like what value does scholarship really even have? Just because I've not been a scholar myself. None of the people that I spent most of my life with were terribly, formally educated. So I just don't get it.
Yeah, you had to learn in the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Sister Margret, blank could become a saint with your careful guidance. Who do you think that is?
I think that's Sister Ellen.
Yeah.
I think so.
And what tips you off about her potential for sainthood?
I think that I think I fully believe in the idea that she has been touched by the divine, and that that there is a higher purpose there. We just
Yeah.
haven't found it yet.
Yeah, and why do you think she needs your guidance in particular for this? What do you think you can provide that she's not otherwise going to get for this path she has to walk?
Well, I probably believe they all need my guidance to get through and get ahead. But in particular, I think that I think that she's lacking some of the formal knowledge of like the catechism and the background knowledge that she needs to be able to truly accept and use her gifts, to be able to stay humble in when the Lord is touching her in such a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one here is a bond that you have. Blank is too susceptible to modern fads and needs correction. Who do you think that is?
I think that's probably Augustine. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I was thinking I would fit that one pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
How can you tell that there's still worldliness clinging to Sister Augustine?
I could tell the fire that's still in her. I imagine that you've had difficulty sort of adapting to the more cloistered life anyway, and so it's still interest in what's going on in the world in a in those very direct ways. Probably I imagine you still have a phone that you check things on. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I've got a cell phone. I've downloaded some modern secular music that I listen to.
There's probably some regulations in the convent about exactly when and where you can use that phone, but
and I go right up to that line.
There we go. That's great. Yeah,
crossed it a few times when I first got here and learned better, but I've learned how to go right up to that line with some of these modern thing. I think I'm also really into Candy Crush, so I play that on my phone a lot whenever I can get away with it.
So I probably think a lot of it is distraction. It's distraction from what you need to be focused on.
And speaking of Sister Augustine, you've shared some, not all, details of your old life with Blank. Who's that?
So I'm thinking maybe Sister Ellen.
Yeah,
because I feel like some of the things that happened to me. So we kind of missed my answer to the last question about where have you seen the devil active in the world.
Sorry about that. Please
and that's all right. Let me get my cat out of the way. There we go. So my first reaction to that was, when haven't I seen the devil active in the world, given the life I came from? But I've come to believe that the meth that we were running was introduced to the world by Satan himself, because I've seen some people do some real weird stuff when they were, either high on it or were in withdrawal from it, and it felt like I felt like Sister Ellen might kind of understand some of this kind of supernatural kind of stuff that I've seen because of her visions and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. How's that sound? That sound all right to you, Sister Ellen? Then I want to ask also, Blank seems distrustful of you and too interested in learning things you'd rather not reveal. Who do you think that is?
So I think Sister Margret seems the obvious direction to go here. So I feel like the two of us are just not gonna see eye to eye. Like I don't get what Sister Benedicta is doing, but I can kind of accept that she's got her own thing there. But I feel like Sister Margret and I are gonna butt heads a bunch.
I'm probably up in your business quite a bit.
Yeah, and I also feel like, and tell me if this sounds right, that because I don't see Mary Immaculate very often, I was able to, kind of skate past a lot of those elements of my backstory, and she didn't think much of it. But because I see you more often, you kind of know there's a bunch of things that I'm hiding. Um, like, you've been around the block enough to know that I'm not telling most people even half of what I am penitent about. And
Yeah, that sounds good to me. All right, we've created a convent. We've got 4 sisters, and we've built up these sisterly bonds between them. I'm excited to see what comes next. But let's first take a bit of a break for.
Can I ask real quick, just what age group is about everybody in, just so I can have an idea of that?
Oh, for each character? Well, we know Sister Margret is in her 80s, you said?
Yep.
How about our other sisters? What do we think where do we think they fall there?
I think I'd be about like late 30s or 40s.
I think I'd be like in my mid-20s, maybe.
yeah, I'm envisioning about 30-ish. So I had some good years in my enforcer role, and then served like a 5-year sentence.
Got it.
Before I got out.
So it's been a hard 30 though.
Yeah, it's been a hard 30. I look like I'm at least 45, I think, from everything I've been through.
So Sister Ellen, our pale and sickly mystic, is the youngest of the lot. All right. This is great. I'm excited to dive back in, but first let's take a break. And how about we come back at the half-hour mark? So I think that gives us about 12 minutes. See you back then.
All right.
Hey, welcome back,
Sorry,
everybody.
just finishing up in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. Good to have everybody back. Let's begin, shall we? We open with some establishing shots of our convent, the convent of the Precious Blood, an old building, facade somewhat crumbling. I think the statue of Saint Michael out front has had the kind of tip of his sword break off, and just the funds haven't been forthcoming to bring someone in to restore that yet. There are leaves in gold and red starting to kind of litter the surrounding sidewalks and even the gardens of the convent where that Sister Ellen haunts. I'd like to ask each of you to help me paint this scene. Sister Ellen, first, what half-hearted acknowledgement of secular Halloween has been allowed to decorate the kind of orphans' dorms here in the convent complex?
Just pumpkins. Like no carved pumpkins, just pumpkins. Just they all can have as many pumpkins as they want, but it can't. No depictions of anything on the pumpkin.
Just pumpkins, but a face on a pumpkin would be a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Sister Benedicta, any other kind of reminders of the season that have snuck through even in this holy space?
I think she's definitely gone around through the archives and is trying to find information on basically holy relics and bones, and she is finding it kind of humorous, no pun intended, to read up about like the bones of holy saints and stuff. So she's doing her own little grim research.
Yeah, tis the season, so time to learn about miraculous skulls of medieval saints. Certainly, you're the daughters of Saint Michael, so you probably know all about the saint who had a hole bored into his skull by the insistent finger of Saint Michael, who appeared to him several times in dreams and told him to build a monastery, and it took a little while to get that through this bishop's skull, literally in the case of this story. Saint Albert, whose skull contains that hole that was drilled into it by the finger of the archangel. So maybe that's one of the texts you have kind of open before you. Sister Margret, what have you confiscated from one of your charges that is appropriate perhaps to the worldly celebration outdoors, but not to this holy space?
I think there's a part of Sister Margaret that actually enjoys this season a lot, and she has a habit of, she'll tell, and she tells scary stories during this time as a thing she does. But when she found that someone had a pitchfork and devil horns that they were going to be wearing around, that is just too much. I don't care what little Tommy at your public school is wearing. We don't dress in the image of the devil. Oh,
precisely. Very good. And Sister Augustine, anything you've noticed that's snuck through, or that you kind of miss in its absence as Halloween rolls around in the convent?
So I think that I have actually been secretly sharing spooky memes with some of the older children in the orphanage. You know, the
memes.
skeleton war is coming and those kinds of things. I've been showing them some of my favorites, and they've been showing me some of theirs that they've picked up from their friends at school and so forth, but only when none of the other sisters are looking.
Fair. Let's drop into some scenes. Sister Ellen, why is it that you're in trouble with Sister Mary Immaculate, who has called you to her office?
I feel like maybe like I was giving a little maybe a biblical lecture to the children, and I started kind of ranting a little bit about the visions that I've had, and I got really spirited about it, and kind of freaked some of the kids out when I gave the descriptions of the demons and things. And I feel like Sister Mary Immaculate, you know, she, although she's on my side, doesn't really feel like this is the kind of thing that should be communicated to the children, because their minds are not really prepared for this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Sister Augustine, what is it that you've discovered in Jaime Menendez's room that you regretfully feel you have to bring to the attention of Mother Mary Immaculate?
Oh, what have I discovered in his room? I think I'm gonna go simple, and he's got a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, definitely not allowed here.
Yeah. He's not old enough to buy those himself. He definitely should not have them.
Okay. So I think what I'll say is you can enter this scene when you'd like, or I might kind of call you in if I feel like it's got to happen now, right? But at the outset, Sister Ellen, you are seated on the kind of power deficit side of the like large oaken desk in Mother Mary Immaculate's office. And what do you see in her office that kind of reminds you of her kind of unironic belief that cleanliness is next to godliness? Sister Ellen, you're in.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was directed to somebody else. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we see you at first here, kind of on the kind of petitioner side of this large desk in Mother Mary Immaculate's office. What do you see around you in the room that kind of drives home her attention to neatness and orderliness?
She has books. There's books all over, a lot of books, but they are very neatly organized. Everything's alphabetical. Everything is even by size. There's certain size of books that fit in one part, and then in another there are larger books. Everything's neat. There's not a speck of dust in the office.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very clean. Maybe everything is real old, but it's pretty clean and everything's polished. All the wood's polished.
Yeah, maybe we even see her kind of as she's kind of asking you to come in and sit down. She's kind of putting a book back on the shelf, and then like pauses, looks carefully, like switches two books to make sure the kind of alphabetical and height arrangement is maintained. Kind of blows a like non-existent bit of dust off of the tops of the books. She comes back and takes her seat. She says, "Let's open in prayer." Crosses herself, says an Our Father and a Glory Be, and then she says, "All right, Sister Ellen, you know why I've called you here today?"
Oh, I suppose I know.
Why didn't you tell me in your own words?
Well, the children need to understand that God speaks to people in visions, and he speaks through me through these visions, and I need them to understand that there is something happening in the world here that they don't know about. They need to be aware of the darkness that's mounting against the forces of good.
All right, Sister Ellen, you've said your piece. Now I'll remind you, as we've been over before, that private revelation is something to be very careful of. Certainly something to bring to me, to a confessor, to a spiritual advisor, but not something to share unvetted with these children. We are indeed responsible for their formation in faith, which is why we have to be careful and meticulously orthodox in what we bring to them. Do you understand?
Yes, Mother Superior, but I have this hope that if everyone knows, the more people that know, the better off we'll be. But I know we've spoken before, and I do understand it. I sometimes can't help myself because I feel very passionate about the things that I've seen, and I don't want these children to miss out and risk them being corrupted.
Sister Ellen, what can you do to assure me I won't regret, allowing you to lead the children's Bible study again?
I promise to keep it in and wait and would it be all right if I spoke to my other sisters? Sister Margret is very receptive, and I feel she understands me when I speak to her. Is it okay if it comes over me if I speak to her directly?
Sister Margret is a venerable and valued member of this community. I defer to her long service in matters of institutional memory, but she's never fully been on board with the changes from the council, and so I wouldn't turn to her as an interpretive authority if I were you, Sister Ellen. Please limit yourself to speaking to those placed in direct spiritual authority over you about what you see.
Very well. I will do my best.
So it sounds like you're not. I think you're not pushing back enough to make this a rebuke or another kind of move here. So possibly this is around when Sister Augustine arrives.
Mm-hmm. And incidentally, how do I change my display name there?
Oh, that's something where you do need to drop and rejoin StreamYard. Do you want to do that?
I won't worry about that right now.
Maybe the next break.
If it requires that. Okay. Yeah, so I know how to do it when I first joined, but I don't know how to add my... Okay. I'll just leave it. Okay. Yeah, so I think that I poke my head in just at this this point, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mother Superior. I didn't realize you were with somebody right now. Should I just wait?"
What do you have, Sister Augustine?
I need to talk to you about Jaime Menendez. I was going through his room and I found some contraband.
Please come in and close the door. Sister Ellen, you know this young man.
Yes.
Then perhaps it's good you're here for this. These children's spiritual well-being is in our charge, which is why it's so important. We offer them only what we know to be nourishing and from the Lord. Sister Augustine, what did you find?
And I, kind of pull from my pocket pack of cigarettes. I'm going to say it's a pack of Pall Malls, and that's been opened, and one or two are gone. And then also a lighter, and it's like a New England Patriots branded lighter, or like logo on it lighter. So I found these. They were kind of tucked under his bed, but not far enough. I was able to see the edge of the package, so I looked under there, and so I don't know where he got them from. I mean, I assume somebody at school gave these to him, and it looks like somebody smoked one.
Oh, poor misguided child. She like puts her hand out and like kind of gingerly takes the cigarettes and the lighter, like opens a drawer and kind of stuffs them in. This is serious. We have to maintain an orderly environment for the physical and spiritual growth and development of our charges. What punishment would be appropriate? Sister Augustine, do you have any thoughts?
So I think an appropriate punishment for him would be to have him write us an essay about the dangers of smoking. I think it's important for him not just to be punished in the sense of suffering for his sin, but also to learn something about it, and so that he understands why we're concerned.
Yeah, so a learning experience is important, but I think a greater degree of severity may be needed to convey that we are not joking about the regulations in place in this community. Sister Ellen, what should be added? What else?
Well, we need to be careful with this child in particular.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know for sure, but I believe he may have gifts from God himself. And
Sister Ellen, all of the children in our charge have gifts from God himself. They are all precious and beautiful souls. We are not to pick favorites or be lax in maintaining the rules that we set out here. There's no space for this sort of particularity you want to apply. How am I to make you understand this?
This is I don't mean gifts. I don't mean the gift of speech or the gift of kindness and compassion. I mean miraculous gifts. I've seen it. I've witnessed it myself. I've seen him pray, and I've seen things move in his room as he prayed. I believe he's gifted, and I don't believe that upsetting this child further would be a good idea.
Okay, I think where you might be afflicting the comfortable here. Do you agree?
Yes.
Please roll plus hope when you harshly exhort someone by relying on your prophetic insight. Roll plus hope.
So 2d6, right?
Yep.
That is a 3. Oh, actually 4. Sorry, 4.
Okay.
Not much different though.
Still a miss. Okay, so firstly, on a miss, you are going to mark your mystery track. That's the name for experience in this system. So every time you roll a miss, you do get to mark it. Scroll down and mark that off, and at 5 of those, you'll get the opportunity for an advancement. However, you also have rolled a miss, and it says as it says on Afflict the Comfortable, on a miss they call you out for hypocrisy in a way that has at least a grain of truth. So you'll definitely be marking tribulation from that. And I think what Mother Superior says is she kind of like gathers herself up and kind of stares down at you. And I think like she's got some height to her, right? There's rumors that Mother Mary Immaculate was an actress in film before she heard the call of the Lord and came to the convent. And I think you see a little of that like screen presence as she stares at you, Sister Ellen, and she says, Sister Ellen, whatever gifts you may or may not have, you have to learn they do not exempt you from the rules of this order or from the common call to charity for all and not for only some chosen few. She puts a hand across her forehead. She says, before I have you... Oh, here's a question. What's the place in the convent complex you least like to go, Sister Ellen?
I'd say there's a basement. She feels most comfortable in nature, and when she's surrounded by stone like that, she just feels very claustrophobic and gets pretty anxious.
Yeah, great. So I think I think Mother Superior says, I need to see your obedience before I clear you to do the Bible study with the children here again. Please tell Sister Virginia that you'll be joining her with the basement cleanup task this evening.
Oh, no, not the basement. I can't do
On your obedience, Sister Ellen.
I'm terribly uncomfortable. Yeah, Mother Superior, is there anything else I can do?
So Mother Superior does not look like particularly yielding, but Sister Augustine, you have kind of brought her something. You've demonstrated your obedience already here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do anything when you see Sister Ellen kind of asking for some?
I think that I volunteer to help her with it. I ask Mother Superior if I can switch my duties to help with the basement cleanup as well. Thinking about just like being there with Sister Ellen, since we kind of get along.
Yeah, unless you think there's a move you want to use here, I'm inclined to say that she takes this in, she nods, and she says, very well, Sister Augustine, I'll ask you to be a good example to our younger sister of how to truly turn away from the temptations of the world towards selfishness and disregard for others. And I'm inclined to cut away from that scene unless there's something else people want to do right there.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. We lost Sister Ellen for a sec. I hope she'll be back in a moment. Sister Margret, let me ask you a question. What younger sister made the foolish decision to allow Stanley Farley to come into your library when he came calling at the convent?
I think that's Sister Emily.
Oh, poor Sister Emily. Is she new here? Like, how did she make this error? Oh, actually, I'm going to suggest a different name just because I see that there's an Emily NPC already. That's a family member of Sister Benedicta.
Yeah, let's go away from that then.
Sister Rose, does that work for you?
Sure, Sister Rose. I think that she probably is new to us. Probably not. I mean, I think she's young, certainly younger than me, but she's young. but I think that she was transferred to our convent from somewhere else, and so she probably wasn't here when the school was still open. I imagine it's been closed several years, and probably doesn't know, doesn't have the same connection that I do, or some of the old ones that have been here longer do. But I think she probably should have known this. I mean, clearly, anyone with good sense would have realized, sort of thing.
Yeah. So and now because of her error here, Stanley Farley is in your library, kind of just poking around, and apparently looking for something. Sister Benedicta, I think you were here in the library too. What discovery did you feel you were just on the verge of before Mr. Farley barged in and distracted you?
I think I was on the verge of discovering what one of the letters that looked like it was an accident or a double letter. Like, I figured out what it was actually supposed to translate to, and I was comparing it with my other notes when I was distracted by someone who's a stranger shuffling through the books that I also am very cautious to put back in the same order, and make sure that nothing is disturbed. And some of the books are actually very, very old, so I'm like just kind of glaring, probably trying to make sure that the spines don't get like cracked open too much.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so Sister Margaret, I bet you're going to come rearing in just a second. But I think he first addresses Sister Benedicta. He's like, "Oh, hiya, sister. Didn't mean to disturb you there. You'll be happy to know we found a use for some of your books."
Define use.
Well, you haven't been able to use any of those textbooks for a while, and I've just got everything through. The paperwork's going to be on Mother Superior's desk. We're going to be able to use those in the public school system now. Whichever ones are appropriate, of course. Probably not the theology texts, but isn't that nice that they'll get a second life? Won't be sitting here moldering anymore.
And who's chosen these books?
Oh, it's all very complicated. I won't bore you with the details. School board, diocese, lots of things to work out. But I've ironed out the kinks, and now we can take these off your hands without them continuing to trouble you.
Oh, they don't trouble us at all. I'm just kind of probably getting up, like leaving my notes, just taking maybe whatever books he has out of his hands and just calmly putting them back, hoping that I can keep up conversation until like one of my sisters comes down. So
I see. So you're kind of running interference here?
I think so, because this would be very alarming to me that I wouldn't have any knowledge of like what textbooks are recirculating and stuff like that. I feel like definitely Sister Margaret would want to double check the content of the books that are being recirculated.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like you might be taking up your cross,
yeah.
which is one of these moves here, and it's an interesting one. It's not a move where you roll; it's just a move where you choose. So when you face your fear, undergo persecution, or otherwise take up your cross, you choose one. Either you stumble or flinch, giving your opposition an opportunity, mark your mystery track, or you press on despite your mounting dread, mark tribulation. So it's up to you. Do you make an error here, and you get sort of the like bonus of a mystery track from that, or do you push through, do what you want to do, but it costs you something, right? It throws your soul into a little bit more turmoil.
I mean, I think I would definitely flinch. I feel like I would flinch at this. So.
Do you even in your kind of haste to try to take these books out of his hands, like let one drop to the ground then?
Oh, for sure, definitely. I think he probably had a couple that he was taking out, so I would have in the scramble probably dropped a book and stared horrified as it fell.
Yeah. This book falls to the ground, and hits the ground, and kind of the pages rustle. Sister Margret, what kind of unexpectedly kind of vivid illustration, right? Be it woodcut or painting is there staring at us from the book that's fallen down.
I think we see. I think as it opens up, we see the Archangel Michael with blazing sword, as he is probably from something like, probably even Revelation, something very fearful fierceness, looking down upon sinners.
And then we pan up from that fierce Michael to Sister Margret, I imagine. How do you come in?
I come in and I have a I have one of those. They're like a dowel pointer that you'd use to, and I'm sort of using it as a walking stick. But any of my sisters know I don't need a stick to walk. As I come in, Mr. Farley, what are you doing here? And what have you done with that book?
Oh, Sister Magdalene, was it?
Margaret.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. No, I was just telling your little sister the good news. We're gonna get to use some of these old textbooks after all, so they won't have to just sit here collecting dust.
A, they are never collecting dust in my library, and B, you are not taking any of my books anywhere, sir. What gives you such a preposterous idea?
All right. No need to get your habit in a twist. This has all been worked out with the diocese and the school board. I won't bore you with the technicalities, but just show me where you keep the the pallets of math textbooks and so forth.
All of these books were bought by our order. Anything that's done with them would have to go through our mother house, and I have not seen anything of that sort here. You, sir, I realize, feel that you can just go through life doing whatever you will, but you're in my library, sir, and that is not what happens here.
It definitely sounds like you are either rebuking someone or instructing someone, but lent towards rebuke in my hearing there.
I sort of think rebuke as well.
Yeah, please roll plus faith.
All right. And I'm going to let me. All right. I guess I'll take the submitted. Did they pop up? Yeah, there they are.
Which color?
I'm purple, and let me move me up there. There we go. So that's a 6, 7, 8.
Oh, very nice. So when you rebuke someone on a hit, they mark tribulation, and you choose one. You silence them, you take something from them, you keep their attention on you. What are you picking?
I'm going to silence them.
Yeah, so he just splutters to a halt, right? Like he has come up against far more opposition than he expected among the nuns of this library, and he's at a loss for words. But you also have to choose from the drawbacks list there. Either they lead you into temptation, or your situation gets much worse.
I can see several temptations towards anger or pride. I see several chances for temptation. So I think he leads me into temptation.
Okay. So you think that kind of the temptation is to kind of sort of a wrathful response, or a sort of pride in your own
somewhere in there,
ability to show him up and stop his plans. How how are you attempting to kind of tamp down this temptation? What are you holding on to try to pull yourself back from the brink there?
I think feeling myself getting this ire up and knowing that that it's getting the best of me, I sort of reach up and I grab my crucifix and Mr. Farley, I apologize for my harsh words, but I do not think that this place and these books have have anything to do with you, sir. I would ask you to leave.
Please roll to resist temptation.
All right. And that one is...
That one's it's kind of a big one at the end. It's a you roll minus your tribulation. And at the moment, you don't have any tribulation marked, so it's a flat roll, I think.
Flat roll. All right. Oops. There we go. Boxcars.
Wow. 12. Okay. On a 10+, evil cannot entangle you. Tell us how you stand strong in the spirit. You gain insight into the situation and can establish a detail or ask the NM any one question. So we got a sense that you've centered yourself, right? You know, kind of clutching your cross and pulling back to kind of chilly politeness, right? To avoid a more heated response here. Anything else about how you stand strong in the spirit, and then you get that insight.
I think that she'd gotten angry and that had clenched her up. And I think as she calms down, I sort of straighten up, and you can almost hear my back give a little cracking as I stand up a little straighter. And I think I'm going to establish what I said before, that all of our books come from the order. And so even the diocese wouldn't be able to just dispense with them without going through our mother house.
Yeah, I got it. Yep. So he kind of you silenced him. He like took a step back. And you can almost like see him like doing the calculations in his head, like, you know, realizing that he thought he could cut a corner here, and he's been called out. And he kind of like makes a sort of awkward, like, you know, shrug gesture. He's well, I'm sure it can be sorted out some point. Just have a happy Halloween, I guess. And he starts to walk. Look, he realizes he's about to like step onto that fallen book, and he's like, "Oh, here," you know, picks the book back up and like drops it on the desk as he's as he heads out. Sister Benedicta, you know, you see the kind of door swing back shut. You had a bit of an insight. You felt like you had almost within your grasp. You also have Sister Margret here, you know, looking like she's kind of cooling off from this encounter, right? Sister Benedicta, what do you do?
Well, first of all, I definitely turn to Sister Margret and thank her for slowing the process down, because I definitely feel like I might not have had enough insight or desire to have a straight up conflict with him. And I wasn't quite aware of who he was, so I guess I would probably ask her to tell me a little bit about like what her insight into this person is and how he even got into our library to begin with, like who would have let him in, because that's very strange to me, and like I would know of the comings and goings of people that were like allowed into the area.
Yeah,
Sister Margret, what do you tell her?
Well, you did very well taking these books from him right off. I'll pat your hand. Very well indeed. And his name is Stanley Farley. He's nothing but a common con man, selling ratty old cars at exorbitant prices. But he's on the school board, and I may have sent him packing this time, but if the diocese has agreed to allow them to take the books, then almost certainly the mother house will agree. I'll have to write a very, very strongly worded letter.
I think I would be very willing to help you with that strongly worded letter. I think once books find their way out of the Covenant, they don't tend to return. We don't have that many funds, so it would be, I think, a tremendous loss if we wouldn't have those textbooks available to the orphans here.
I agree. And certainly, and I'll be looking at the book, the one that had fallen and where he's at. None of these are even textbooks. Some of these have been here even longer than me, and I've been here longer than the dirt behind the shelves, I tell you.
Yes, it's quite strange. It seemed like he had a very specific direction he was heading in, and I assure you that direction was not towards textbooks.
If there is any man I've ever met with the devil's paws on him, it is this Farley.
Maybe we should go pray for a moment.
Yes, and then we should go and speak with Mother Superior.
Yes, I think we need a moment to calm down.
Of course. You're muted, Alex, my love.
Thanks. I think another unexpected male voice sounds in the library from someone a little younger, though. Sister Benedicta, Marcus Halloway is here, and he's probably wearing his Halloween costume. I think because he's stopped to say hi. Maybe meeting up with a friend who lives here to go and trick or treat. What's his Halloween costume?
I think Marcus is wearing definitely a skeleton costume because I've advised him against other directions that he might take. So I very happily kind of ask him to come over because I know that Sister Margret wouldn't be necessarily upset at a skeleton costume, and I'm kind of happy because I see that he's patchworked a little bit more of an accurate anatomical skeleton than the store-bought costume. So yeah, I kind of give him a hug and show him, I guess, the research that I was doing about the saint that I had read about earlier that had a laser hole in his head from Saint Michael, and I kind of tell him how rad that is.
Yeah, he's like, man, you guys get to do the coolest stuff here. I wish I could be a nun when I grew up.
I don't know how to respond to that, so I kind of just
I think Margaret chuckles.
Yeah, I just drift upwards. Yeah.
He shows you where he's got a removable bit of his skull masks, and you can see a little brain underneath it. He's like, isn't that cool?
Oh, that's the coolest. You've been studying. He's been studying, Sister Margaret. I'm very excited.
I wanted to show it to some of the orphans that live here. I mean, the kids that live here. We're not supposed to remind them that they're orphans, right? But and I wanted to show Jaime, but I couldn't find him. He's not here. Do you know where he went?
That's strange. No, Sister Margaret, do you know where he might be?
No. And I think I've fumbled from out of my habit sleeve, and I'll hand Marcus here, and here you are, and hand him a peppermint for his candy thing.
he stares at it. It's like, thanks, and drops it in his bag or bucket for collecting Halloween candy. Yeah.
How long has it been since you've seen him?
Honestly, it's I can't imagine that I've had much chance to see him since lunch.
Maybe we should go take a look. Thank you for for bringing that up. That's very strange. It's kind of odd.
Yeah. Well, tell him that we're waiting to go and trick or treat. Um. All right. Good luck studying and praying.
Aw, thanks, Marcus.
Yeah. So I think Marcus heads out, and you probably feel just like a little bit of a like kind of like low like rumbling tremor coming up from the basement. It's probably nothing, but you catch just a little bit of that.
Do we both sense that?
Ooh, good question. Sister Margret, are you leaning on that pointer that it sometimes acts as a cane?
Yeah, I mean it's probably yeah.
Then I think you like largely like feel it through that like a kind of like tremor traveling up from below that like shakes your cane. Uh,
Something must be wrong with the furnace again.
and like the pages of that book that's open on the desk just kind of like flutter like there's a breeze, but you don't feel any breeze otherwise, and it kind of like turns from Michael to the kind of judgment of sinners and kind of souls being dragged down into the fires below.
Oh, that probably would get my attention more.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
as
Could
I
I. Would I be able to, since I've noticed that, like, the pages shouldn't be turning, um, I guess if these walls could speak, could I take a look around and see if there's something specifically in this room that I should know very well that's off about it right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you're kind of taking a close look around the library for something here.
Yeah, I just say to Sister Margaret, oh, maybe someone's installed, like, a fan or something, or like a fog machine. I don't know. This is this is not. Uh, I think this is normal, right? Right? I say as I'm like looking around, basically.
Yeah. Roll plus charity for when you turn for help to your extensive research into the convent's own history.
Okay, great. So, ooh, interesting. That's not gonna be great. That was a 4 and a 1, and I have 2 charity.
That brings it to a 7, I think.
Yeah, actually, okay.
So that's a partial success.
Okay, cool.
And the move says on a hit, a useful secret passage, resource, or tale. Explain it. And I'm happy to kind of to work with you there if you'd like. But do you have any initial thoughts on kind of what useful thing you know of here?
Well, I think all of us know that, like, maybe the infrastructure of this building has been slowly upgraded over time, but maybe there's still, I don't know, old pipes or something. And I've definitely, like, looked around and tried to figure out what everything goes to, but maybe, like, I notice an older pipe or something, and I try to follow it
Yeah.
around the room.
Oh yeah. I want, since we had like kind of a burst of air, maybe it's like a duct, right? Maybe
Yeah,
it's like an air duct with like a very like vintage metalwork grill over it or something.
yeah,
Um, yeah, that you kind of are like kind of tracing it. It's the way it kind of tracing where you can see it as it goes behind the bookshelves or whatnot. Trying to see if maybe like a blast of air from that is what you kind of what you felt and what made the book's pages to turn. Does that work for you?
yes.
Yeah. As you get closer, you just feel like intense heat radiating off of it,
Hmm.
like way more than seems safe for a library, and certainly more than you'd want. When the weather hasn't. There's only a hint of chill in the air. The weather hasn't turned to winter. No one should have turned on the main furnace or anything like that.
is
Ooh.
everything all right, Sister Benedicta?
I kind of just stare at you a little bit more wide-eyed than I would be when I found a discovery. Um, This could be nothing, but maybe we should speak with Mother Mary.
All right, girl. Come along, sister. We'll go there directly. She certainly should hear about our visitor as well.
Yes.
All right, very good. Are you guys up for that to be the coda to that scene? Then let's check in down in the basement. Sister Ellen, you got assigned to go down below. Sister Augustine, you volunteered to accompany, and I believe we established that Sister Virginia is also there. Someone who was transferred along with Sister Ellen from the other convent. Sister Augustine, what who? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Who from your old life does Sister Virginia remind you of?
She reminds me of one of our customers. Yes. Someone who I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go the direction of having her be someone I had to pay a visit to, or if she was a good customer.
Either works.
Yeah. Let's say that she was a good customer. She always paid on time, and so I felt bad for her because you can almost feel like the people that are jerks and you have to go after them for your money and stuff, then if there are negative consequences to them from being involved with drugs and stuff, it's they're kind of bad people, so who really cares? But she reminds me of someone, about how old is she?
Sister Ellen, you think she's like your age or just a little older?
Just slightly older, maybe in her 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so you could feel like some people just kind of deserve whatever bad aspects of the drug trade kind of hit them. But she seemed like, she was responsible. She always paid on time. Couldn't she have done something better with her life? I almost felt protective of her.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sister Virginia is kind of as in here, in this basement room, it's just a place where a hodgepodge of old bits of convent furniture have been sitting gathering dust, and I bet there's just one slightly kind of flickering bare light bulb in the ceiling, right? It's a touch underused, right, in this room. And maybe there's an old kind of chair, right, a kind of ornate chair like the priest might sit in the sanctuary that has kind of toppled over, and she's kind of working to right it. And she looks, she says, "Sister Ellen, could you help?" And then she looks you over, kind of, I mean, Sister Augustine, maybe you can help.
Yeah. Here, I'll give you a hand with that.
Sister Ellen, she seems to be kind of dismissing you, right? What are you going to just?
Well, I'm here to help. I was assigned here, I believe. If there's something I can help with, I'd be happy to help.
She looks over. What kind of insultingly light task does she point you towards in this sort of mess of things that have accumulated in the basement?
There's a stack of very, lightly unshuffled paper that she just. She's like, why don't you just go and take care of that little stack there?
Yeah. Do you do it?
I do, but I kind of like I kind of give her the dagger stare, like I roll my eyes and I just kind of stare, and I just as I'm doing it, I'm kind of doing this, and I'm kind of just staring daggers as I'm doing it, like and doing it obviously, like just a little angry about it, maybe doing make a big show of it, just because it's her.
Yeah. There we go. So you, Sister Augustine, you are able to move this to move this chair, right? Probably you were able to to kind of lift the bulk of it while she steadies it, and Sister Virginia's like, it's good to have someone practical here at the convent. Thank you, Sister Augustine.
Yeah. So we got that one. What's next? What else do we have to do here?
Oh, well, it's crazy. Someone's left all these 2x4s just piled up over this pew. We got to shift those. Can you help with that?
I think I give her this look. Like, does she mean something by that, or is this just a coincidence?
Oh, sounds like you're trying to discern situations or spirits.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I still don't have a good grasp on all of the things that are.
Oh no, this is
moves here.
It's always great when I ask you what you do and you describe something. We're like, that's a move, my friend.
Okay, so roll plus charity, and my charity is -1.
Oh, a little low on that charity there.
Yeah, that's all right. And I got a 5 total,
including the -1 there.
Yep.
And there's 1 in the Treasury of Merit. Just checking. Okay. There's some moves that will add to the Treasury of Merit, and were there 2 in the Treasury of Merit, 2 sisters could chip in, push this up to a hit for you. At this point, even doing that wouldn't push it up to a hit, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So you're going to mark your mystery track.
Okay.
And as the discern move says, you still get to ask 1, but the answer may be confusing, and the novice mistress will make a move as usual.
Okay, so I still get to answer 1.
Or you get to ask
1 question. Yeah. Yeah. Are there any threats we haven't noticed? Because I'm guessing there are, just from the fact that we're playing a game here, but I need to know what they are.
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? I think you're. Tell me if this sounds right. Right, like you're used to kind of sizing people up from the old days, and just kind of like lean on all your senses to gather information. So maybe you just kind of involuntarily sniff right at this as same time as you're narrowing your eyes and kind of seeing if you see anything. Right? Does that work?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Oh, I wonder if so. It's going to be a slightly orthogonal answer from the fiction of you just kind of staring down Sister Virginia. But I wonder if while you're staring down Sister Virginia, you also just kind of like take a sniff of the air, like kind of relying on all your senses as a trick you picked up in the trade. So like Sister Virginia like looks back at you innocently. You can't read anything in her face, but you do smell burning.
Okay.
And like right as you get that scent, the light bulb flickers out and the room is plunged into darkness.
Oh God.
Sister Ellen, how do you feel about this?
She's freaking out. Can she smell the burning too?
Oh, good question. Things suddenly went dark. You might catch a whiff of the burning, but I'm not sure if it's the first thing on your mind. Tell me, do you think you are taking up your cross to to do something else here, or do you think that you just have a temptation to freak out and run, right? Because it's possible either of them is on the table.
I think in this case, given the situation that I don't feel comfortable in this place anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and the lights just flickered on like that, or flickered off like that, and then maybe I do smell a little bit of the burning. That combination of those things just my anxiety just ramps up, and the immediate reaction is I just want to run and get the hell out of here.
Okay. Are you resisting that temptation at all, or are you just going for it and running?
Well, I'm gonna say I'm trying to resist it because I know there may be part of this that's after the talk that I had with Mother Superior, I'm trying to really discern, not just go make my own assumptions about what my visions are and what the world, the unseen world is. So I feel like I would try to be brave about it. Like I would try to stay better. I really like my first instinct is to run.
Yeah, totally. Please roll to resist temptation.
Okay.
So that's minus tribulation, and I believe you have
1, right?
You have a tribulation mark. That's right.
Okay. That is a 2.
Oh boy. I'm sorry, Sister Ellen. When you roll a miss on a 6- for resist temptation, you are ensnared. So you choose one. Compromise your vows, poverty, chastity, and obedience by thought, word, or deed, and that'll give you a -1 on your next roll. Become obsessed by what you're confronting and unable to tear yourself away. Harder to fit in the fiction here, but if you have a pitch for me, I'll take it. Or 2 options from the 7 through 9 list, which in brief is instruct a sister to misguided action, your faith is tested, marked true tribulation, or you give up, give away, or give over something important. So you've got a couple options here, but you've been ensnared, right? You tried to hold fast, but your fear got the better of you.
Okay.
What do you pick?
What was the move that I just did? What was the name of it?
Resist temptation.
Okay.
It's over on kind of the far right of the basic moves.
Oh, I see. Okay. So I could do 2 of the
2 of the 7 to 9 list, or 1 from that 6- list.
Okay. I feel like I might freak out. Like, this whole thinking about this whole confrontation I had with Mother Superior, that her telling me to kind of in not so uncertain terms that I should kind of keep this stuff to myself. I just kind of blurt out like, the devil is here. The devil is here in this room right now. We need to get out. We need to get out. I've seen this is the darkness. This has to be the darkness. This is what I've seen. This is the darkness. I have to get out.
Okay. And sorry, just tell me which option from the list.
Oh, that was the sorry. That is compromise of vows, the obedience of basically me promising to keep this kind of the stuff about my visions and what I believe about the high man, all that stuff, kind of to myself and to and basically blurting it out and making it make everyone believe what I believe is. I feel like disobeying what the Mother Superior basically just told me not to do.
Oh yeah, okay, totally, yeah. So you, Sister Augustine, you're hearing Sister Ellen losing it, right? You don't hear anything from Sister Virginia, but the room is dark and kind of there's that smell getting stronger, and you hear like a little like noise, like one of those 2x4s being dragged along the ground. What do you do?
Yeah, so I was envisioning that I was standing next to where the 2x4s were when all this happened.
Oh yeah, totally.
So I wanna reach out and pick one of them up and like heft it like a weapon, and also you know tell Sister Ellen, calm down, calm down. It's just the light went out, even though I know it's got to be something more than that. But
Yeah,
it's like she's freaking me out with her freak out.
that makes sense to me. I think you hear like just a kind of low chuckle from a few steps away from you in the room. What do you do?
So this is like a menacing chuckle.
Probably sounds a little like
Okay, I'm just gonna turn to where that noise is and whack it with my 2x4. I'm not here to mess around.
Yeah, great. So sounds to me like your old instincts have kicked in and you've resorted to violence.
Yes, exactly.
So
So
you
I'll
can
mark
mark
tribulation.
tribulation and just take a free 10 plus on rebuke someone or something.
Okay. So mark 10. And then let me see what the... Okay. You silence them, you take something from them, you keep their attention on you. So I think I silence them because I don't know what they have to take from them, and I don't want their attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So you swing the 2x4. What does it remind you of when you feel it connect?
It reminds me of... It reminds me of there was a guy, we'll call him Jeff Henderson, that I got sent after several times, and each time, I left wondering if he was actually going to make it, but then as soon as he was patched back up, he was right back to everything that he had been doing before. Just did not learn any lesson from it, and so I got sent out multiple times to his house, and so just that like evil chuckle just kind of reminds me of the way that he was just like, well, you're here to beat me again, all right, let's get to it.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's like the chuckle just like stops abruptly, right? As you feel like an impact shudder through the board, and I'm gonna say you probably draw it back, like you're getting ready for another swing. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
You hear like a sharp like kind of gasp of pain from behind you as Sister Virginia is struck by the board on that backswing. And around then the light like flickers back on. It's like a little like dimmer than it was before. You don't see anything in front of you. You see kind of, I mean, Sister Ellen, what is, if Sister Augustine looks around, what does she see you doing? You're on mute, but I think we're getting some of the idea.
Yeah, I'm on my knees praying, just saying whatever prayers I know to ward off darkness.
Yeah,
and just repeating them over and over and over and over, just like trying to block everything out with the words.
We'll check in a second to see if that's triggering a move, actually. But behind, you look behind Sister Augustine, and like Sister Virginia has stumbled back and like fallen amidst the kind of pile of 2x4s in the side of the room.
Okay.
I
don't see anyone, like there's not like a person there where I clobbered the chuckling.
Maybe the smallest like trace of ash on the floor, but it's hard to be sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I drop the 2x4 and run over to Sister Virginia and, kind of grab her and, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't see you in the dark.
What was that? What the... Sister, what the hell? Excuse me. Sister, what the heck?
You didn't hear that? You didn't hear the chuckle?
The light went out. The light went out, and you immediately swung up. Ow! And she's like nursing, like where like her arm is. It looks like there's a little blood. What do you do?
So I think then I turn to Sister Ellen and ask, "You heard it, didn't you? That chuckling?"
I feel like maybe I would stop and I just would nod and kind of my prayers are like, tell me what I should do here.
Oh, absolutely.
Asking for guidance.
That sounds like a mystic move, actually.
Yeah, like still small voice, maybe.
Still small voice. So when you discern situations or spirits, and asking for guidance about these happenings here definitely counts. By asking for prophetic guidance from God, his angels, or his saints, roll plus hope instead of plus charity. Excuse me. So this is the discern move, right? But with the stat changed. And you'll also have to ask each sister for a detail of your vision before asking the NM questions. So please roll plus hope.
So actually I get a -1, right, from the one that I chose. I think it gave me a -1 on my next roll.
Yeah, so that comes to you're rolling with just +1 because your hope is to -1 from that breaking your vow.
Right. That is a 6. That's a 7.
Nice. Okay, up to a partial success. So, so you'll end up getting a question from the discern list.
Okay.
Oh, and please remind me, the way the rule's written, when you act on the answers from discern, you get a +1. So plausibly, there might have been a +1 for. I guess it didn't matter because you were taking automatic 10+. But when you act on things that you learned through discern, remind me about the +1 you get from it. But before you ask those discern questions, let's hear your vision. What does it look like, Sister Ellen, when you've asked for guidance? Do we see you like kind of close your eyes and grow like peaceful as you receive something, or are your eyes kind of widening and just not seeing what's in the room anymore?
No, I think my visions, even when they're dark and they're foreboding, I'm always very calm and very at peace. Outwardly very at peace, very serene.
Yeah. So a serenity settles on Sister Ellen. And let's each Sister Benedicta thing, or image, sound that Sister Ellen sees in this vision.
You chopped up a tiny bit. Who are you asking that?
Oh, sorry. Sister Benedicta first. What's one image or thing that Sister Ellen sees in her vision?
I would probably say the missing kid.
Yeah, I may. And how can she tell that he's in distress?
Because she's holding the pack of cigarettes in her hand again.
Jaime has the cigarettes again here in this vision.
I was gonna say that she has them, like she's looking down and has them again.
Oh, Sister Ellen does. She sees them in her own hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Sister Margret, what's something Sister Ellen sees as this vision comes from flooding into her?
I think that she sees a great flaming sword, but as she watches, the flames begin to die on it.
Yeah. And Sister Augustine, one more detail from this vision.
She sees just like a cloud of some sort of like winged creatures, like almost bat-like, but just so many of them that they're just like a mass, and they kind of fly across her vision and darken everything.
Yeah. Sister Ellen, you get to ask one of those discern spirits questions from this vision.
Okay, I think I know who is in the greatest physical and spiritual danger. But I think I would want to know who or what we could call on for help here.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, yeah, you'd seen kind of Jaime in peril. This kind of swarm of darkness, and you realize now is the moment to call on Saint Michael for help, and only the faith of you and your sisters will allow that sword to be rekindled. And if you guys don't mind, I might kind of montage us slightly to kind of put the sisters together, since they're kind of on similar trails here, right? So where did the four of you meet up after I think Sister Benedicta and Sister Margret get kind of distracted answers from Mother Mary Immaculate, who is kind of busy kind of juggling some of the paperwork that she's suddenly received from the diocese and the mother house and the school board. Where does she may kind of tell the two of you that Sister Augustine and Sister Ellen were already checking on the problem with Jaime. And she may not even like hear that there's a new problem of him being missing, right? But where did the four of you end up like coming together to compare notes?
Do we think maybe at the stairs as we're coming down from seeing the mother, and you're coming up from the basement?
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So then, Sister Virginia still there? Is she kind of leaning on you, Sister Augustine, or is she like, very much kind of walking unassisted because she's kind of doesn't quite feel like she can trust you after what happened down there?
I think I'm insisting on helping her because I feel bad.
It's all right. It's fine. It's fine. I said I forgive you, didn't I? But she doesn't say it in a tone of voice like she really forgives you. Yeah, and so kind of Sister Margret, Sister Benedicta, you see like emerging from below, like they're coming up from the depths of hell, Sister Ellen and Sister Augustine. What do you say?
Sister Virginia, are you all right? What's going on here?
There was an incident in the basement. The lights went out, and
Sister Augustine hit me with the board by accident, and I forgave her, but I can't believe it.
There was something there. There was something there. It laughed at us, and it left this like ash pile behind.
I didn't see any ash pile. I don't know what she's talking about.
I'm not sure.
I could
more
feel
help
it
right
when
now, but I'm gonna go try to like make sure that the wound or whatever. Like I'm gonna go full, just check that like everyone's okay. So I'm gonna start with Virginia, who looks like she could probably use like a band-aid or something, and then like go one after another and make sure that they didn't all fall or something.
Yeah. Okay. You're checking on Sister Virginia. I'm sure you've got like a little first aid kit attached to kind of stowed away in your habit, right?
Yeah, I would probably at least have a band-aid, but I think if it's worse, I would know where to go to get more supplies.
Yeah, so you're able to kind of just kind of check that she's not concussed or anything, right? And you see she's kind of suffered some bruising and a flesh wound. Is nothing you can't bandage. Here's the question: as you're doing this, is it like kind of purely clinical, or you're also trying to kind of like soothe her kind of emotional distress?
Oh, I'm definitely trying to soothe her emotional distress.
Tell me a little about what that looks like.
Um, just listening to, I guess, what her what she describes as the sequence of events, because very obviously she was the one who got hit. So I'm like trying to, I guess, listen to her and like make her feel like she's being listened to, and just kind of like calm her down, maybe by like uh, not patting her shoulder, maybe just holding onto her shoulder or something, and like
Yeah.
making sure that she's good in that way.
Yeah. Please roll to comfort the afflicted.
Sure.
That's a roll plus charity.
Okay. So a 6 and a 5, and my charity's +2.
Wow. Okay. Nicely done. Yeah, the afflicted person is calmed or reassured. On a 10 plus, you can also clear a tribulation yourself or add 1 to the treasury of merit. So is it that like getting to do this also like centers you and dispels some of your turmoil, or kind of is it more that like you're doing this well enough it kind of builds up the sisterly bonds of the convent?
I think it builds up the sisterly bonds, to be honest, because I'm kind of like soothing over her very obvious frustration with my other sisters.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and add to the treasury of merit. And speaking, oops. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Two treasury of merit tokens over in the roll for your party. Speaking of adding to the treasury of merit, or sorry, mix up about my own mechanics. I think it's possible that with all the sisters gathered together, we're almost at the point of the special All Hallows Eve move when you renounce Satan and all his works by, naming the darkness you confront. Each sister marks her mystery track, and that kind of serves a bit as like a sort of a marker, right? That kind of that All Hallows Eve we kind of done the All Hallows Eve scenes. Do we think we're there?
Yeah, I feel like when I see Sister Margret, I know she's gonna like these visions that I just had. She's the first person I thought of, and I see her, and I know I need to tell her what I saw, right? And that I believe this is a call for us to call upon Saint Michael to assist us and to say the prayer to Saint Michael, the Archangel.
Absolutely. Sister Margret, do you concur?
I concur. I wonder if like wrapping up the night, if that's, I imagine we're really wanting to find Jaime before the end of the night, or at least have some idea that he's missing, since it's a small boy in our charge.
Yeah.
But
I'll say time can work the way we need it to work, such that we kind of say like we're doing the All Hallows Eve move, and then like smoothly moving into to kind of All Saints Day, even if the like literal midnight hasn't ticked past. We kind of understand the like the fate of the game is moved. Yeah.
Then I think we definitely see the darkness is upon us.
What do we see from Sister Augustine that shows she understands, and she understands that they're facing something unearthly, and she wants the help of these sisters to do it?
Um, mm, trying to think of a good visual for that thing. Um,
Does she kind
so
of like steady herself, like kind of bracing for further conflict, or is she kind of does she
actually,
reach out to someone
I
else?
think everybody notices that I still have that piece of 2x4 with me,
You've just
and
you just brought it with you.
because
The telltale two by
I had kept it like tucked behind my bag. Like I'm not sure the exact mechanics of the clothing that we'd be wearing, but I'd like kept it tucked behind my back, like in my belt or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
Whatever.
pull it out, and I do the thing, kind of rest it on your shoulder to be like I'm ready uh, to do something here.
Do you think we see some mark on it from where you hit whatever it was?
Ooh.
I think that would be cool. Yeah, if there was like a scorch mark or something on it.
Yeah, just a little bit of kind of burn there. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Sister Benedicta, how do you renounce Satan and all his works alongside your sisters?
Mm. I I was actually gonna say like seeing um, Sister Augustine resort to um, basically resort to like a safety mechanism of like trying to physically fight something off has me rattled because like I haven't seen her in that state before,
Yeah.
and I should have just frequenting the grounds and like knowing as much as I know. I shouldn't feel as unsettled as I feel right now with all the things that I know. So I think there's something I'm there's something very big that I'm missing and it's rattling me.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so, with the sort of knowledge of what they're confronting and the sisters gathered together, uh, we'll say we've renounced Satan and all his works. Each of you get to mark your mystery track for that. Uh, and I think we'll take a brief bio break, and when we come back, we will drop right in. Kind of perhaps like montaging slightly in order to be in the thick of it. Does that sound all right? All right. Drew, be back at 5 past the hour. How's that sound? All right. See
Sounds
you
good.
in 7 minutes or so.
This is a super cool game, Alexei.
Thanks so much. I'm enjoying this session a lot.
These moves are they're primo. This is very slick.
Oh, thank you.
I also am really excited by. I love this kind of nuns on the front line of the spiritual war sort of feel it's got. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I like getting to do this. There aren't enough stories about nuns out there.
And half of them are always creepy nuns. I like seeing strong, upstanding nuns. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your message, Stentor. Great. I'm going to ask a couple questions just to lead us in and drop us into the action here. Sister Ellen, how are you so sure that the place you and your sisters need to go is the abandoned schoolhouse next door?
Well, I think the vision I saw, maybe there was, because I saw Jaime holding the cigarettes, right?
Yeah, I think you saw yourself holding cigarettes, but it may have been like a double vision thing or something.
Okay, like maybe I was seeing it through his eyes or something, and I feel like maybe I saw some evidence of maybe like an overturned desk, kind of the corner of an overturned desk in that vision.
Oh yeah. I like it, and that's what you're going on. That's where you're leading your sisters with that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You've got that prophetic conviction. Sister Augustine, what unexpected physical obstacle did you have to deal with to get you and your sisters into the school?
So, is it all right if I go like supernatural with it?
Yeah. Tell me what you're thinking.
Okay. So I'm thinking that as we were going into the school, like we thought we remembered how the school was laid out because it's not that long ago that it got decommissioned.
Yeah.
But it seems like everywhere we go, there are more like longer and different hallways than we expected, and
Oh, totally.
doors that we don't remember being there, and we wasted a lot of time like just trying to find where we're trying to go. Like we know where this, like we have this idea of where this classroom is that Ellen saw in the vision, but we're like, wait, is it? I don't remember this door. Where does this go?
Yeah, and how did you solve that?
For the most part, just like brute force, just grinding through it,
Yeah.
opening every door, and kind of like
increasingly slamming open the doors, maybe.
Yeah, and like leaving them open to mark which ones we've tried.
Yeah, making your way through. Sister Margret, what reminder of dear departed Sister Bernadette did you find and pick up while exploring the school?
I think as I was traveling down as we were going down one of these hallways, there's a plaque. We'd had, probably where we have plaques in the trophy case or whatever, and almost everything had been taken out. But here in the interim, and one guess that people break in occasionally, teenagers. You can never trust teenagers, and the vagrants or something will occasionally get here. I think that the trophy case has gotten shifted and moved, and laying on the ground behind it where it slipped before, but now we can see it. There's a plaque there that shows from probably like 1965, where the school won the Scholastic Olympics, and you see her name written there as the coach for our Scholastic team.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Are you in the picture too, or is this just the students with Sister Bernadette looking proudly over them?
I think that I recognize that I'm there, but anybody else looking at it would not recognize, a
few decades younger.
40 years, 40-year, 50-year younger Margret.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sister Benedicta, how do you spot signs of that unnaturally hot duct from before weaving its way through this school as well?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to probably act casual because I'm not able to talk to Sister Augustine alone, because I think that I wouldn't want to alarm Sister Ellen, and Sister Margret kind of thinks of me as someone rational.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just keeping it quiet to myself and kind of holding my hand out with like small awkward gestures of like trying to feel out the space as we're walking. And I'm trying to carefully note more about the infrastructure as we're walking along. But I only want Sister Augustine to notice and not Margret and Ellen.
Got it. So you're trying to play it close to your chest a little here.
Yeah, I'm trying to still be rational about it, but on the inside I know that there is nothing. It doesn't feel rational.
Sure, yeah. And you've knocked open a bunch of these doors, and you make your way into, or who, Sister Augustine, are you kind of leading the charge then on kind of checking each room?
I think so, yeah, because I've got the weapon.
Right, still carrying your 2x4. You knock open a door, and I think before you see anything, you also feel this has got to be the right one. There's a kind of burning scent in the air, and just a closeness and warmth to the atmosphere as you do you look in.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's an overturned desk, and looks like on the other side of the desk, you think you see someone's kind of head bent over something, and there's just a like sound, like something's being carved with a knife. It's hard to tell.
Okay. So I step up towards the desk with the 2x4 kind of at the ready, and I say, "What's going on back there?"
Got it. Yeah, are you peering over the desk?
Yeah, I'm like edging closer, trying to peer over without, trying to see it from as far a distance as I can, just in case.
Yeah. Sister Ellen, Sister Benedicta, Sister Margret, are you following Sister Augustine in, or letting her be the vanguard here?
I think I'm following in, and you might even hear me whisper, it might be some hobo.
And I'm following, but I'm kind of making sure I'm kind of like the last one, and I'm kind of clutching onto the cross I have hanging around my neck, and just real shaky about it. I have a really bad
Absolutely.
feeling about it.
Sister Benedicta.
I feel like I would want to be right behind Sister Augustine, because if the sound starts to sound unnatural, I want to be there to prevent her from going in further. Like I'm just trying to ascertain as close as possible without having her get too close to where we lose control of the situation.
Okay. Great. So I think any of you are kind of set up to intercede here if the occasion arises, and plausibly discern situations or spirits if you want to kind of study it more closely. Well, I'll tell you what you just see without that much study first. Sister Augustine at the front of the pack, you're like looking over, and you see, it's Jaime. He's kind of like sitting there, cross-legged, and in front of him is an enormous pumpkin, and he's got like a kitchen knife, and he's kind of carving a design into the pumpkin, and he like turns and looks up at you. They say,
Jaime, are you all right?
they said you took the cigarettes and tattled on me to Mother Superior.
Yeah, Jaime, you know that you can't have those.
Why? Why can't I have them?
Because it's against the law to start.
He goes back and like he's like carving the pumpkin more. You see like it's slowly taking shape. It looks like he's kind of trying to carve out the shape of like a rib cage in the front of the pumpkin. And he says, they call me illegal all the time. If I'm illegal to start with, why should I care about cigarette laws?
Well, and it's also gonna give you lung cancer if you smoke those. It's a bad habit to get into. You won't be able to stop.
Yeah, he holds up the cigarette that he has with him. There were a couple loose from that pack, right? So he's holding one up and kind of like narrows his eyes, and you see just a little red plume appear at the top of the cigarette as it just lights itself in his hand. What do you do?
I'm trying to think of something. I feel like this is a climax moment for something really meaningful to happen here.
If you think this is something that would take you aback, then we can turn to take up your cross, and you can pick from the options there, right?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Because if he's demonstrating this, because this is the first like supernatural thing that I've seen him do.
That's right. Yeah,
sure.
Sister Ellen felt she knew this side of him, not so, and you not so much. Yeah, when you face your fear or otherwise take up your cross, choose one. You stumble or flinch, giving your opposition an opportunity. Mark your mystery track. You press on despite your mounting dread. Mark tribulation.
I think stumbling or flinching is more interesting. So I think because the burning cigarette reminds me of the whole burning smell and the ashes and stuff from the other incident, I think that I like flinch back from him, and maybe even drop the 2x4.
Oh yeah. It kind of clatters to the ground.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and mark your mystery track.
Yep.
Jaime narrows his eyes. He says, when I pray, things move, but when I say these other words, things burn. And Sister Augustine, your vision kind of blurs, and it's like kind of smoke is clouding your sight. You don't see Jaime. You don't see the room. You are kind of lost in this smoke, but you hear kind of footsteps, hard booted footsteps moving through it towards you. The rest of you, who was closest on Sister Augustine's heels? Remind me.
I was hoping to be.
Sister Benedicta, you see Sister Augustine drop the board, stumble back, and then like stare around as if in a daze, as if she's far from here right now. What do you do?
I'm definitely gonna try to, I think, apply my scholasticism to the situation, and like see if anything that I've read, if there's like I don't know, spiritual incantation or something to kind of like lull her out of this state.
Oh, nice. Cool. Are you invoking the move applied scholasticism?
Yes.
All right. So the way that's written is when you take a risk to confirm or disprove a theory, mark your mystery track, clear a thorn or clear a tribulation. What theory are you trying to confirm or disprove as you make your approach here?
I'm trying to confirm my theory that I have never had to encounter before, that she is possessed.
Wow. Okay. So the theory is kind of a spiritual warfare is going on right now for Sister Augustine, and the devil's grabbing at her. What does that look like? Did you carry some holy water that you're pulling out now? Are you just kind of like rushing and kind of like pressing a cross or a rosary to her and starting in on some prayers?
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm probably gonna press my own cross to her and get as close as possible, and try to see if her own cross is like affecting her, or what the situation is. But since it was so sudden, and I don't know how much we saw, but I was already on edge to begin with, so my my suspicion is that this is supernatural, and I don't want it to be, but I'm gonna act like it is.
I hear you. That totally tracks for the move. When you do this, you get to mark your mystery track, clear a thorn or clear a tribulation.
Okay.
And it sounds like you might be trying to intercede for someone who is to be delivered from temptation, obsession, or another terrible trial. Does that
Yes.
sound right?
For sure.
Let's have you roll plus hope as you kind of press your cross to Sister Augustine and try to help her.
Oh no, I think my hope is -1. Okay, so 5 and 5, and I just have a -1 for hope.
Okay, makes it a 7 through 9. That's great. So on a 10 plus for intercede, they are delivered. On a 7 through 9, you undergo the trial for them. You still get to choose one here. The trial's potency is lessened. Whoever confronts it next gets +1. You and the one you intercede for receive the peace that passes understanding. Each of you clears a tribulation. Or your sisterhood draws you both towards sanctity. Add 1 to the treasury of merit.
And the treasury of merit can be used to increase a roll, right?
That's true. Oh, is someone hoping to use the treasury of merit right now to push this from a 9 to a 10?
I don't know. Ellen, do you think this is something up your alley more than mine?
Yeah, I was actually kind of leaning towards somehow working that in as far as helping out, and I feel like my focus is now on I'm kind of seeing what she's seeing. I'm kind of seeing that that there's something going on here. That the darkness has kind of entered someone here, and I feel like. And I felt like when I was down in the basement and I was reciting, when the prayer to Saint Michael came to me, that was a thing that I felt like there was power in that. So I feel like I start to recite that out loud.
Yeah, Saint Michael, Archangel, defend us in battle. I absolutely buy that as kind of maybe Sister Benedicta, you hear Sister Ellen praying that, and even though you've been trying to hold up this kind of very, very rationalistic approach, just kind of knowing that she's backing you up spiritually gives you a boost of just sort of fervor as you run to Sister Augustine. Does that work?
I think so. I definitely think that like my fear of revealing my suspicion is now gone, and I probably feel comforted and more strengthened. Looking back at her and like seeing that it's helpful, it's not judgmental.
All right, I'm taking one from the Treasury of Merit, and that pushes your intercession up to a 10+. You get to choose 2 from the intercede list, 2 of these benefits.
Okay. I think probably that we should add 1 to the Treasury of Merit.
Yeah, replenish it.
And I think the trial's potency is probably lessened because now we have a little bit, I guess, more going for us, knowing that like we can take it on together.
Yeah. Okay. Please remind me of that +1. Whoever confronts it next. But yeah. So Sister Augustine, you were lost in the smoke for a moment. You were kind of hearing the boots come closer, and probably you see the shape emerging for a second, and it's clearly a cop. It's wearing a uniform, but instead of a face, he's just got a ball of fire hovering above his shoulders as he's kind of like stepping closer to you, and then the smoke disperses, and you see instead Sister Benedicta, who's like rushed to you and is kind of holding her cross up. You're kind of you blink. I don't know. How do you feel? How do you react? Kind of coming back to yourself here.
Yeah, it takes me half a second to get my bearings again, and I think the first place I look is over at Jaime to see if he's still burning this cigarette or what he's doing.
He's looked away from you and is back looking at the pumpkin again, kind of carving it some more.
Okay. So I'm trying to think what the right move or something would be to because it seems like Jaime needs some sort of an exorcism at this point.
Well, perhaps can I do something?
Yeah, if you have an idea.
Margret, what do you do?
Go for it.
You've seen your sisters kind of storm the room, kind of be taken aback, come together, and seemingly push through something. But I want to know what you're doing.
I think I've seen this struggle going on with my 3 sisters there, and I'm just going to kind of calmly walk by them and go, and you hear the regiment fire as my knees pop as I kind of squat down next to Jaime. I'm guessing there's even if he's not holding it anymore, there's the burning cigarette there, and
yeah, maybe he might have just tucked it behind his ear. It doesn't seem to be interested in smoking the cigarette, right? So much as just kind of lighting it for dramatic effect.
And I kind of squat down there to him as he's working on this rather single-mindedly on this pumpkin. But I said, young man.
You see the kind of rib cage design taking shape on its face.
Young man, you know, when I was a young girl, not much older than you, I also would smoke cigarettes. You know what happened to me? I went behind my family had an outhouse. You may not know this, but back when I was a girl, you had to leave the house when you had to go to the bathroom. And I had seen the glamorous movie stars smoking their long cigarettes. I thought it was very, very stylish. But as I sat back there, I had a match, and I lit this cigarette. I tossed the match just down the privy hole. Well, you may not know this, and I certainly didn't at the time, but there are rather a lot of gases that can build up in some of these privy holes. And all of a sudden, this great gout of blue flame came flying up out of it. The whole outhouse began to blaze away. I didn't know what to do. I ran, grabbed a bucket of water and threw it on it, but it was, it was just a tiny drop as compared to this fire. It took me going to my father and telling him, "Oh, Father, I'm afraid that, the outhouse is on fire, and I may have done that." He came out, and we managed to put it out. And my father, I expected him to be quite angry, but he wasn't unkind. He told me that every child has to find out for themselves what the right thing is and how one reacts when one does things that are wrong. He said that, that there are times when the fire will burn you, and there are times when you will put out the fire. And young man, I'm pretty sure there's something in you that realizes when it's time to put out the fire.
I think at first he looked at you skeptically, like he didn't believe the claim that you had ever been young. But as the story unfolds, he seems to be paying a little more attention. Please, I assume you're using the move Follies of Youth here.
Mm-hmm.
For when you comfort the inflicted by sharing a tale of misadventures from your own younger days.
Mm-hmm.
Please go ahead and roll plus faith to comfort the afflicted.
All right. Let's see if the dice are kind. They're fairly kind. That's a 9.
Okay. Got it. There's a special miss for this move, but instead, we just get the comfort the afflicted move here. All right. Yeah, one sec.
Ooh, and I actually like the 7 to 9. That's lovely.
Yeah. So on a hit, the afflicted person is calmed or reassured. 7 to 9, they can ask you a question, which you must answer honestly. That's good. Yeah, Jaime's kind of looking at you, Sister Margret, and at first suspiciously, but it softens, as you go through the story, and he says, "But sister, they won't." How am I supposed to put out the fire if they won't let me learn about what I can do? People keep telling me not to tell them these stories or try to show them these things. Will you really, and Sister Mary Immaculate and all the nuns, will you really let me learn to do anything, to do what I can do?
I'm going to kind of reach up and, kind of put my hand on his shoulder. Son, we love you. and we will help you however we can. If you need to learn, well, the church has always had ways of helping those who are gifted. And if you need to learn control, the Lord is there to help you as well. You are loved, Jaime.
Yeah, I think like you see some tears start to well up in his eyes. Sister Ellen, I'm especially interested in your reaction to hearing this exchange.
Yeah, I like seeing him, witnessing this exchange, I feel like she would, kind of be slowly edging towards him, and in very not a sneaky way, just kind of like, she's drawn to him because she feels very, she's moved by his pain, and she says, I know your gifts. I believe you have gifts, and I believe you're being tempted now. This is a moment of temptation, and there are two ways it can go. You can turn towards God. You can turn towards the light, or you can turn towards darkness. And I believe you're a good boy, and I believe God has other plans for you. And I believe this is your time to make that choice. And if you will allow me, and you will repeat with me, and I kind of hold my hands over his and kind of not force them, but just kind of put them into the kind of a prayer position. And I kind of repeat the prayer of Saint Michael to him.
Yeah.
And say, can you repeat this? If you want to turn towards the light, repeat this with me.
So I think there's two moves right on the edge of this moment here. I think one is instruct someone, since you are kind of like walking him along, right? Like kind of bringing him to do this thing, and then the other move that this like possibly rolls right into is when you invoke the intercession of the saints for specific aid in your present trial, add 1 to the treasure of merit for each sister. That's the All Saints Day move, and I think that's just about here. So we'll trigger. You know what? Let's trigger that one no matter what, right? Because
okay.
Tell me, do the rest of you join in as Sister Ellen is praying the prayer of Saint Michael here?
Yeah, I certainly will.
Yeah, Sister Augustine.
I think it takes me a moment because my mind was so much on taking a kind of violent approach to dealing with danger that it takes a minute to realize, oh wait, there's this other way we could approach this. But then I do join in.
All right. And Sister Benedicta. Yeah.
I pretty cautiously join in, probably at the very end, because part of me doesn't actually think that that's going to work.
Well, let's start by adding 4 to the treasury of merit. All right, you have got a nicely primed treasury of merit now. And now, please, Sister Ellen, roll to instruct someone, because you are taking Jaime, it sounds like, under your wing, right, and teaching him the proper way here.
Okay. And what am I adding to that?
So when you instruct the ignorant, you roll plus faith.
Plus faith, okay. My faith is 0. Okay, so just a straight roll. That is a 10.
Oh, nice. Yeah, on a 10 plus, they do what you instruct them to. For NPCs, I think Jaime kind of lets go, and the kitchen knife he was holding just kind of clatters down to the ground. Sister Margret, if you reach out and stub out that cigarette, he's not going to stop you. and he kind of, sniffling a little bit, prays along with you. Saint Michael, Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. And then he I think he probably just like buries himself in like a hug, just like wrapping himself around you, Sister Ellen. But as you say that, be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil, and you, Prince of the heavenly hosts, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl around the world seeking the ruin of souls. Sister Benedicta, you notice people in the room that weren't there before. Just a ring of figures, all in kind of full red cloaks with hoods, standing all around the edges of the space. And kind of one of them walks over. So they're standing right behind that pumpkin that Jaime was carving. And you now see the ribcage design complete. There's like something going up and down inside the pumpkin, almost like lungs behind the ribs. And the kind of rattling voice comes out from under the hood saying, "These weak women can teach you nothing. True mastery is not found in bowing before their God, boy." Sister Benedicta, first I ask, what do you do?
I pick up the weapon that my sister left on the floor, and I pray louder and I point at them, and I say, "You have nothing to do with that boy. If you think we are so weak, maybe you should focus your attention on me."
Oh, wow. Sounds like a rebuke.
Yeah.
With a strong sense of what you'd pick from the seven, what you'd pick on a hit.
Okay.
Please roll plus faith.
So that's a 5 and a 3 because I don't have extra faith.
5 and a 3. That's an 8. Great. So you're picking their definitely you're keeping their attention on you. But you also have to pick from below. They lead you into temptation, or your situation gets much worse.
I think they lead me into temptation of getting more violent because I'm feeling pretty protective of them, and they just like secured the kid away from that situation. So I feel like I'm being tempted to be a little bit unlike myself right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you resisting the temptation to get violent?
No.
Tell us what that looks like then.
They'll probably hear me as I'm walking and trying to place my body between this group that I see and my sisters. I'm trying to be right in between so that if they continue to tempt or whatever, that I'm like between them essentially. So just very forcefully walking forward. Kind of a little, definitely anger in my prayer.
Absolutely. Yeah. The figure that had seemed to speak takes a defiant step towards you.
I'm gonna warn you one more time to step away from the boy. There's nothing. You don't belong here. None of you belong here. You should go where you belong. And I say that very poignantly.
Yeah, the kind of you don't see any hand, but kind of coming from the sleeve, like it's being held, is a little scrap of parchment. Looks like it could have been torn out of one of the books in the library. As the voice says, "You should have read more carefully. Of course, he belongs to us." You see, kind of, just a scrap, right, of the many-headed beast from Revelation held out there. What do you do?
I am gonna try to take this scrap of paper away from him and be like, you shouldn't mess with my books. I don't even think you're here. I don't even think you're here. I think you're in my head. I think that's how weak you are.
Are you punctuating that with the 2x4?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna try to, like, I don't think they're actually there. I think this is in my head. So I'm just gonna, like, swing through the air.
Yeah. Okay. You swing and connect and take another swing and connect again, and as kind of your visions getting a little blurred, you see like the hood seem to fall back, and your father's face grins at you, saying, "See, I always knew you had some fight in you. You weren't just going to hide away. I'm proud of you, girl. Finally taking a stand."
Oh, shit.
Sister Augustine, you see this kind of scene of Sister Ellen and Sister Margret, kind of seemingly reaching Jaime. You also see that Sister Benedicta has picked up your 2x4 and is just swinging wildly at nothing. What do you do?
Okay, so I don't see anything that she's going after there.
No. It looks like she is kind of, yelling defiance and swinging the board at the empty air.
And what's the status of the pumpkin? I missed a bit of what happened because the connection went funny.
Oh,
what's
sure.
The status of the pumpkin?
It's got a rib cage carved on it. You could look at it more closely, but there's maybe a little like trick of the light going on as far as what's inside the pumpkin. Hard to tell. Someone else saw it kind of breathing like there were lungs inside.
Okay. Because I kind of want to smash the pumpkin.
Yeah. So tell me, you can certainly do that. Tell me what you're hoping to do that way. Are you hoping to, by smashing the pumpkin, remove it or whatever is behind it, or by smashing the pumpkin, kind of work wonders to dispel whatever presence is here?
Yeah, because I'm thinking that pumpkin must be some sort of, if not like inhabited by our enemy here, some sort of like a key to its manifestation, since Jaime was so intent on carving it, and now something's going on. Even though I can't see everything that's apparently happening, I've been the one seeing things other people don't see before, so I can guess that she must be seeing something if she's whacking at it with that 2x4.
Yeah, you remember that.
So
good. Yeah. What does it look like when you smash the pumpkin?
So yeah, I think I'm trying to decide if it makes more sense is it on the ground?
I think so. Why do you ask?
Okay. Because if it's on the ground, I'm just going to jump on it.
Okay. Yeah. Just to bring both feet down, break the thing open.
Quicker and easier than picking it up and heaving it.
Please roll plus hope.
Okay.
You're smashing this pumpkin, and we'll see if you work a wonder by doing so.
Okay. Um, 3, 4, 5, and what was my hope? Nothing. So I got a 5.
Oh, here's my question. Does anyone want to spend from the treasury of merit here?
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Because I think because if 2 people spend, we can push that 5 up to a 7.
Yeah, I'll spend it too.
Okay.
Tell me for each of you, tell me how your sisterhood, right, part of the mystical body of the church, how your sisterhood here is helping Sister Augustine, kind of achieve what she wants to achieve here.
Okay. The difficulty you're having is that as you're trying to do this, what is kind of obstacle there for you?
The obstacle is that she's had this sort of intuition, right? That kind of smashing the pumpkin will do something, but maybe it takes like a particular degree of faith for that to carry through, right?
All right. I think drawing upon the strength of the sisterhood. I think that there is a bit of a glow, a bit of a fire, that spiritual fire of Michael's sword that we can kind of see in your eye, and you can feel that warmth of his presence within you.
All right. And
Okay.
Sister Ellen.
Yeah, I think that fits perfectly with she's kind of realizing now that the sword and the vision that she saw down in the basement it's kind of like we're actually drawing on the power of the actual sword of Saint Michael. That the flaming sword going out was actually, she realizes now that the vision she saw was actually being presented to her in reverse. And that the sword going out was actually going in, flaming up.
Reigniting.
Right.
That pushes your work wonders up to a 7 through 9. And what that says is a more limited version of what you hoped for comes to pass. It may be that only you recognize it as a wonder. So we might not see kind of pyrotechnics here, but you understand, right, after smashing this pumpkin, that the darkness is dispelled, right? That kind of you have kind of broken a stronghold of the enemy, and indeed wielded Michael's sword. So you do have to pick one of these. You're drained by using these spiritual gifts. Take -1 on your next roll, or fear and trembling overtakes you. Mark tribulation.
I think I'm going to mark tribulation.
Yeah, that makes sense. This also might be the last roll of the game, so the first one's a bit of a cheat. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what do we see as kind of the pumpkins destroyed under your feet that tells us that Sister Augustine feels both both kind of like her faith has been rewarded, but also like this has left her, right, kind of in a kind of shaken state.
So I'm envisioning that what's left behind is not just like pumpkin parts, but some of that ash that we've seen before.
Just kind of there's some ash under your feet. That's from when you did landed here.
And as I come down, as it sort of turns into ash, I stumble against some of the other desks and kind of fall into the chair that's attached to it and kind of collapse back there, feeling really winded.
Yeah.
Like I just did something with way more physical exertion than just jumping on a pumpkin.
Yeah. And Sister Benedicta, if this sounds all right to you, I think maybe you kind of like feel a like kind of gentle hand on yours, and it kind of helps you kind of like set down the 2x4, and you then kind of hear behind you a sound like a sword being placed back into its sheath. And then it kind of maybe just like a touch of breeze, like a flutter of wings, before the room suddenly feels less hot and close. It just feels like an ordinary abandoned room in a schoolhouse. And if you don't mind, I think we might move into epilogue, where we kind of roll All Souls Day into the epilogue here, where I ask just a question of, I ask each of you to answer questions from the epilogue here, which is on the special moves page, and it asks you to roll plus tribulation and minus whatever remains in the treasury of merit. So you guys have a nice treasury of merit to work with. I think maybe it's a good idea to do this in character keeper order again. So, Sister Ellen, would you make a roll for me, plus your tribulation and plus your tribulation -4. So you're rolling at -3, and this is a roll where low is good.
Okay. It's a 4? It's a 4.
All right. On a 6-, your faith remains firm. In fact, the grace you've received has strengthened it. Nonetheless, something has changed in your relationship to God, your vocation, or your sisters. What is it? Answer one of those questions. How did you recover, physically or spiritually, from your ordeal? How did this experience provide an unexpected blessing for the community? Sister Ellen, which of these will you answer?
I feel like this experience, answer the how did this experience provide an unexpected blessing for the community. I feel like this, to me now, is a clear sign that the hope that I've been holding on to, that we as spiritual people can fight back against this, is real. I've had this suspicion that this is the case, and that this hope has really kind of kept me going. But now I feel like we actually have the power to literally fight back the darkness now.
All right. Yeah. In that vision, you see those sparks rekindling as the angel swords are striking back. Sister Benedicta, would you mind making a roll for me? And you are golden on tribulation, apparently. So you've got a -4 on this.
How many dice am I rolling again?
2d6.
Okay. So that's a 6 total.
Very good. So you also get to answer. Your faith remains firm. Your faith remains firm. It's been strengthened. Nonetheless, something's changed in your relationship to God, your vocation, your sisters. So what is it? And then answer one of those questions about how you recovered or about the unexpected blessing.
I think the unexpected blessing is definitely just learning more from the ordeal and like the tactics, like literally the tactics that these things might go through. So I'd probably start writing my own account of what is happening, and then I'd try to see if that I'd probably do like closer readings in the future of like what is happening, since that was called out. So
yeah. So a new text, kind of drawing on your own experience and maybe like bringing in the parts that you're translating from the text you're studying.
Yeah, I think I'd have new context as to what I was reading.
Absolutely. I really like it. Sister Margret, would you make a roll for me?
Yes, indeed. I rolled a 10.
That's a 10 on the board?
10 on the board, and am I -4? Is that right?
-4.
So
So
a 6.
it's still a 6. You guys, the treasury of merit is clutch. I think that's right, though. Your faith remains firm. But something's changed in your relationship to God, your vocation, or your sisters. So what is it? And then answer one of those questions about recovery or an unexpected blessing.
All right. All right. Is this, we're still going to have these little vignette scenes at the end, or?
Yeah, if you've got a vignette to roll into this, that works great.
That's what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Because I think we see Sister Margret, and she's there in the library, and she's got a whole horde of the kids around, and they're busily putting books together on these carts and into boxes, and she's directing them as well, that'll definitely go. That there's no doubt the children will need that. And as she's directing all of these books that are going to go to the public school.
Oh wow!
And
she's reconciled herself to that.
And and she seems happy with it. That it is a chance for them to be out there doing good. She had been holding on to that past, and so she's opening up to the future means. At least this we can do good. But as we're doing that, I think Jaime walks by, and we see that book that had fallen on the floor and was on the table. And she goes, no, Jaime. I think that one we'll keep.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Sister Augustine, a roll and a little vignette, or epilogue.
Okay. So let me get out my old dice here. Okay. So I got an 8 on the board, and I've got 2 tribulations, so that's what, a -2 total.
Okay, so it's close, but it still brings us down to 6, I think.
Right.
So tell us, how has something changed in your relationship to God, your vocation, your sisters, after what you've been through?
So I think that up until now, I had been thinking of my time at the convent as sort of an escape. Like, oh, I got out of that life that I was in before, and I got away from it, and I want to keep it from catching up to me, whether, through people that I was involved with finding me here and doing something, or just, the temptations of backsliding into that kind of behavior catching up to me, but I envisioned the convent as being about escape from that. But now I feel like God actually wants to use my skills and background to do something in the world, that I'm not just trying to get away from that and just dissociate from it and leave it behind.
Yeah, totally. Do we see you talking to the orphans, or talking to fellow sisters, or kind of, what is there, even if it's just a glimpse without sound, how do we kind of get this idea of the new understanding of vocation Sister Augustine has?
So I think you actually see me meeting with Sister Benedicta, because I had been kind of dismissive of the whole book research thing, but now I'm realizing that if I'm going to use my skills, I need more guidance and more understanding of where to apply them to. So you see me actually meeting with Sister Benedicta to talk about some of the stuff that she's found in some of her texts.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even in the background of that library scene with Sister Margret directing the children, and Sister Ellen perhaps kind of sitting in like a much more kind of peaceful way than we've seen her before, as she looks out at the convent. Does that sound right, Sister Ellen?
You're muted.
Correct. Yes. Correct.
Yeah. Well, this has been Autumn Triduum. Thank you all for playing. For any folks watching this broadcast, thanks for coming and joining us for this story. I've had a really good time. I hope you have had too. Have a happy Halloween and a wonderful All Saints Day and All Souls Day as they come on up this year. And if you want to check out more cool gaming, remember Gauntlet gaming community at gauntlet-rpg.com. And if you want to learn more about the game we played here, Autumn Triduum, you can find out more by checking out Cloven Pine Games on Twitter and on itch.io, or just by going to bit.ly/Autumn Triduum list, which is a place to sign up for updates on Autumn Triduum as it hopefully goes to publication or Kickstarter or something like that. All right. Thanks and good night, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.